Hi, and welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, and today I have my special guest, Kenzo's Creations. How are you doing?
I am special. No, I'm fantastic, man. I'm doing good. Doing good. No complaints at all. I appreciate you having me on, sir.
I think sometimes people in the chats may not think we get along because you take a lot of shots at me.
What?
Um, don't worry, you're not the only one. Um, I've had a lot of people think I don't get along with certain people. And to me, it's kind of like if you see people going back and forth, you can probably assume they get along. If you're yelling about someone on stream, you may not like them.
Right. Agree. I always tell people if I don't give you grief, then I don't like you. I give you grief only if I like you.
Yeah, that's how it normally is. Like you can usually tell when someone is being playful, messing around, and then you can tell when other people are like you can tell that they don't like each other. And for me, I avoid, like, if I'm in someone else's stream, I don't talk about or to anyone that I don't like, because one thing, it's not my place to start a fight in someone else's stream. You know, I know people do that. We've seen it before, and it's just like
many times.
Yeah, this is not this. People have come here to enjoy. Who's ever hosting, who's ever up on screen. Don't go mess up someone else's. You can do your own stream and screw everything up there.
Absolutely, I agree.
So, but thank you for joining me. Again, I've talked to you a little bit, well, more than a little bit. We've talked about a lot of stuff. I know you do a lot of 3D printing. You're a sport. You're one of the sports ball people here.
Yes, sir.
We can talk about that later and run everyone off the stream, other than like 5 people.
Yeah.
Because as we know, most people would think deciding to do live streams on Monday and Thursday would be a death sentence because of Monday night and Thursday night football. But it's like, dude, these are toy nerds. Right. Most of them have never watched a football game, and that's how I know you don't like football, because you've never watched football. Would you agree?
No, yeah, I agree. And I of course, I think the number one person I always give grief to the most is like Brick something. Brick, and every time Brick says anything, I'm like, "You ready to talk sports?" And he's like, "Yeah, exactly." So no, because that's the thing. Yeah, I'll talk sports till the cows come home, but I know to separate my toy friends with my sports friends.
Yeah, I can't give Brick grief because we start talking about punk rock, and it's. I mean, I know when I was on his show, Highly Articulated was like, "Are you guys gonna talk sports or is it just all music?" Like, I don't know, man. So anyway, let me start off by asking, where does your name come from?
Well, my family is originally, or are you talking about the moniker or my actual name?
I don't care about your name. I mean your YouTube name, your Instagram name.
This is my lack of creativity, considering I think I'm a creative person. My first name is Kenny. My last name is Lenzotti. You jam those together and you have Kenzo.
Oh, so I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So yeah, that not very creative. It was kind of one of those where it stuck with me for a long time. I've always kind of had that nickname,
So where does the Creations come from?
Creations is actually, you know what? It was I was speaking to Retro Bacon, who Cheryl, a good friend of mine that lives in New Zealand. She's the one that designed both of my logos.
Okay.
And at a time there, I had Kenzo's collections on there because it was more like, and then I said, well, I still want to do some of the 3D printing and all that. So I was all over the place, and I already have Kenzo's customs for my sports. So then I said, well, let's do creations for the toys. So again, it's not a gigantic storyline behind it, but that's kind of to separate the two.
No, but I don't think a lot of people realize you do 3D printing, and you do. We'll get into it when we get to that part where you've done a lot of things for athletes. I know. Wait a minute. Don't leave, guys. You did a lot of things for
They're
like
cool stories. Yeah, it's cool.
yeah, like real people. And what I mean by real people, like real athletes.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of different things, and you did all that stuff with the um, uh, what was the Motu guy, Modi.
Oh yeah, Modi.
You were
Everywhere.
doing a new Modi color after Modi color, and I don't think a lot of people realize that.
No, yeah, I remember my favorite one. Of course, I put together the Modi with the man at arms. I even gave him a little mustache, and I did one Orko, put the hat on him. The trap jaw, I put the gun. So it was fun. That was a good one.
Well, let's say hi to the chat, and then we'll get into your story and go from there. So we have Jay Astros in the house. We have GI Bro with the best guns in the business. I'm trying to work on it, but it'd help if I actually curled every now and then. Plastic Skulls is here. We have a Francie Brody. We have my moderator, Matthew Matson. Menhoza. I just like saying that now. Christoph Scuba is here. We have Nolan, which I believe now makes us Toy Official. Frostbite G.I. Joe. Repro is here. Machine Man is in the house. Look at all these wonderful channel members. Don't forget, you can become a channel member. That's just a little bit of show. Same time, Toys has joined us. I know there's more people, but you got to move your way down. I'm not good like other guys, like Geek Dead Life. Those guys are awesome. We have Oz is in the house. Ostradamus Toys. Big M is here. We have Joe Fan 84. We have the Prophet Director and Eternian Royalty, which I'm not sure if I've ever seen you here before. I know I've seen you before, so thank you for joining. If you have been here before, my moderator, Matthew Matson, will do a screenshot and text it to me to let me know, hey, idiot, he's been here all the time.
Well, Mikey, who is Eternal Royalty, might have followed me from. He's my boy from Instagram and YouTube and all that. He's one of my good friends. So
yep, I kind of and that's exactly what this, that's what this show is, to maybe get some of your people to come in here and see who I am, but for my people to see who you are, but also people that know you get to know who you are.
More. Yeah.
And let me tell you, I've been mentioning this now a couple of times. I always have my screen going on here, so I know I'm not jittery. It's about 5 seconds behind, and you don't realize how much you talk with your hands till you see yourself on screen over here, and you're trying to not be distracted. It is bad. And we want to say hi quickly. Did I say to Sharlock and Sabir, who are both joining us? All right. So, do you mind asking how old you are?
46.
46.
46 years young. Yes, sir.
You are right in our wheelhouse. I always find it strange when I talk to somebody that is in like their early 30s. Even like just turning 40, there's a big, huge 8 to 9 year gap. But people in their 30s, you're just like, holy crap, man. That's like, how did you get into this? I always find it real interesting because a lot of them are talking about stuff that we talk about, and we think it's archaic or it's ancient. But so, okay. So Attorney of Royalty says, I usually come on Oz's chat on Saturdays typically, but yeah, got to come on and support my boy. And you know what? Thank you very much. That is awesome. All right. So do you mind me asking, where are you from?
I am originally I was born in Yuma, Arizona, the armpit of the United States. I don't think it's ever snowed there. It's in the very, very bottom corner of Arizona. I was 1 year old when my folks decided to move over to Colorado. So I grew up in Walsenburg, Colorado, which is a very small town in southern Colorado.
So you're not even an actual Coloradoan. I don't know how you'd say it.
Coloradan.
Is that what it is?
Coloradan. Yeah.
But you don't really remember, obviously, being. No. Do you have family there? Do you ever go there, or?
We went there. My mom's the mom's side of family. My dad's side of the family is in Colorado. My mom's side of the family was in Arizona. They have since moved elsewhere. But when I was younger, it's funny because a lot of people remember, oh, we went on vacation here, went on vacation there. We drove to Arizona. We drove from Walsenburg to Yuma, which is like a 12-hour drive. which is a nightmare with a sister that's 4 years older than you, picking on you all the time. And yeah, so that was kind of our vacationing. We would go like once or twice or once every other year. We would drive down there. So
Mendoza says, Yuma, Arizona. My paternal family lives there. Mm-hmm. I've been to Arizona. It is a beautiful place. To the point where you don't even think it's. I was there for 10 days. You don't even think it's real. It looks like a picture. I've never been to Colorado. I've seen pictures. It looks beautiful there. It seems like you went from one beautiful place that looks completely different to another one.
Yeah. No, I can say a lot of people like, oh, Colorado, it's kind of, but no, I mean, this is where it's at, man. I am the type that have my head in the clouds. I'm always looking around. I mean, to have the mountain scene and have, just so much beauty around. Love it.
I've never heard anyone, and that comes from a Red Wings fan, say anything bad about the beauty of Colorado, because you see the pictures and it looks amazing. And it's funny, people, here, they're just like, the people that have never been here, they think of Detroit. And it's like, yeah, well, Detroit, it's an inner city. It's no different than Chicago, New York, places like that. But when you go up north, it's just trees and trees and trees.
Yeah.
People absolutely love it. People love that nature. Me, I need horns. I need people cursing at you, flipping you off, riding your ass, just being complete assholes. All right, so you mentioned about having a sister. Do you have any other siblings?
No, just one sister. She's about 3.5 years older than me, so it was pretty rough. She picked on me bad, dude. My sister was a mean one. We never got along as kids. We get along now fine, but yeah, it was a rough go, man. The sis was mean.
So you obviously didn't have the built-in play friend like some other people that had 2 or 3 brothers.
No, I got lucky. Of course, dude. Okay, so here's the thing. Where I grew up, you can get anywhere on your Huffy in 15 minutes. So that's the beauty of it. So I had a friend that lived 1, 2, maybe 2 blocks away. And then I had another one that lived about 6 blocks away. So I had 2 of my best friends growing up were within walking distance. And so I was lucky there.
So if anyone had the Huffy on the bingo card, you might win today, because I didn't have Huffy coming up, but I can't believe no one's even brought up the Huffy bike, because I think we all had the Huffy bike, because it looked like a real dirt bike, but none of them had free wheel.
No, it was
you went to go backwards, and your back the back tire stopped and you skid.
Yeah. No, that was and it was same thing. It's like, that's the other part about it is we had to drive to Pueblo, which I'm living in now. We had to drive 50 miles just to go grocery shopping, for God's sakes. It's such a small town. We had 1 Safeway, we had 2 street lights, and a 7-Eleven. That's kind of what we had growing up. Okay. And a Ben Franklin. We had a Ben Franklin when I was a kid.
What's a Ben Franklin?
You don't know Ben Franklin? I guarantee you the chat will come up. We know Ben Franklin. Let me know in the chat. It's just a small kind of, just one of those duck walls. Do you know duck walls? Kind of one of those weird ones. I don't know.
The private director says Huffy is the bikes, what pro wings are to shoes.
Absolutely.
And if you know what pro wings are, you know exactly. I'm sorry, I can't. All these people wear champion stuff now, and I'm like, dude, that was Kmart stuff. And if your parents came home with champion, especially champion shoes, there is I would go in socks rather than wear champion. But if you were wearing champion stuff, like, oh, wow, your parents shop at Kmart. Now it's like the coolest thing ever.
So weird. Yeah.
And I think we can all agree it's not. And we have Ed showing up here, and we have Clint. I like Jorgensen, although he has said it's Jorgensen. But when I can be proper, I like to be proper, like Mendoza.
I hear you saying that all the time. Like, what the hell is he?
You know what's funny is that he actually changed his name because he had his, I believe it's his wife's name. So I didn't know if it was if it was a female or a male. And then I heard some people referring to him, and then I finally had asked, and then he said that he was going to change it, so he changed it on my stream. And then it was supposed to be Menjoza because he's a Joe fan. I'm like, oh, it's Menjoza. So
Menjoza.
And Allison has joined us. All right, so as a kid, do you remember like the first toys that you played with? I mean, like most of us, like at our age, I feel like it's mostly Hot Wheels, Matchbox, Adventure People. Do you remember like the first toys you played with?
I will throw you for a loop, Lawrence. So here's the thing. My mom was very creative, and that's where I got it from. One of my first toys that I remember, which is hilarious, is when I was younger, couldn't afford them and there was a big race for them. I had a homemade Cabbage Patch doll. My mom actually got she had the how to stitch the nose, put the eyeball, put the little, she was using yarn for hair. I had the little boy, my sister had the girl, and we had our own homemade Cabbage Patch Kids. Right. But no, that's just kind of funny. That's what I remember as like really young.
Oh,
but, it's kind of, He-Man was always the earliest I remember was always He-Man. That was kind of my favorite was the Stridor and Fisto. That was what I got when I was really young. But I even had one of those little Pillsbury Doughboy, little vinyl thing. Little things like that. But
my sister used to love the Pillsbury Doughboy. Like she had a whole collection of stuff. It's funny you bring up Fisto because next week's guest will be Thanos Copter, who we know he really does enjoy Fisto.
he's a very popular character.
I don't know if the other figures in his pictures enjoy Fisto that much, or maybe they really do. I don't know. But when we were at PowerCon, there was someone across from us when I was sitting with Mr. Wonderful, and this guy had this big Fisto shirt. I took a picture and I sent it to Thanos, and I was like, "Hey, dude, this is right across from us." But anyway, okay, so you had a Cabbage, and again, I didn't have Cabbage Patch doll on this bingo card, and I definitely have homemade bat.
Yeah, well, and you know what I do remember another one that was a younger one because I remember it's such an older one. But do you remember that green? He was flexing. He was like a aquatic looking dude. I think he was from Stretch Armstrong, and it was a green. He had the teeth coming up.
Yes. And
that, honestly, that was a 77 doll. So I remember I had that but that was one I always ran around with. And it was like almost like a foam kind of I don't know.
Those are worth a lot of money, I believe, because I was watching, I believe it's a toy store near you. And in one of the episodes, they talk about Holy Grails or like most expensive things that came to the shop. And there was I think an orange one or something like that, that was really rare. But they talked because they didn't survive the test of time.
Dude, it was such a good one. That was one. Yeah. And he just sat there with that flex, he had the tail. Yeah, he was a cool one, man.
And Brick Something is joining in Kenny, and he's flexing perfect time.
We're going to talk about sports now that Brick's here. Yes.
A lot of sports ball. We're gonna make Brick a sports fan by the end of this stream. He just bowed out.
Yeah, Brick, come back. Yeah.
So I guess that leads into my next question. You kind of already answered it. What was your first favorite toy that you remember playing with?
Yeah, that was absolutely. I carried him everywhere. It was even when I was younger too, and it was like that was my favorite. He was always in my hand. When we go on trips or when we go anywhere, go to the store, I'd always have him with me. It was a cool one.
Yeah, Ed says the head on that stretch monster goes for crazy dollars.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, so you had that, but so what was the first toys you remember just absolutely loving after that?
Yeah, Masters was it. Masters was it. Like and what's cool was, of course, when you're younger, you kind of have to pick. You can't just go crazy like I am now and just pick every line and cherry pick from everything. So Masters was number one. I did have Joes. I remember having a lot of Joes because when I grew up, I lived right across the street from a little ditch. So the water ran through, and I had the best time by myself over there with my toys, jumping across the water and all that. But Masters was number one. Mask was one of my favorites as well. I liked Voltron, but never got any. But Masters of the Universe was absolutely, yeah.
Let me ask you this about Masters of the Universe. Did you think that it was called He-Man?
No, it was always He-Man. Yeah.
Okay.
I never called it Masters Universe.
I didn't even realize it was called Masters of the Universe till I got back into collecting, and I was like, it's called He-Man. And then you're looking at it and you're like, oh my God, it's not. It's always been called Masters of the Universe. And even though you know the name, like, it was just He-Man.
Yeah.
He-Man is the Master of the Universe. And then She-Ra came in and killed it.
How is she that much stronger? No.
That's for you, Allison. Hey, I if you watched that the Toys That Made Us on Netflix, have you ever watched that?
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing. But they talk about that when She-Ra came in, it pretty much tanked it.
Yeah.
I won't blame She-Ra for it. I think it was going downhill anyway because that crash and burn was crazy.
It was. And you think about, like, they talking about, it seems like some of the stories are so ridiculous that you're like, it couldn't be that simple and that stupid, where they said, we want more. And instead of them saying, we want more of the same, they said, well, let's give them more new ones. And then all of a sudden they're like, we don't want that. We wanted more of the first stuff. And it's kind of like, really? That's it? A miscommunication like that dropped the whole line? I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at Transformers, and the whole movie was meant to bring in new Transformers, and you killed off Optimus Prime. And because you killed off Optimus Prime, they didn't kill off Duke, which now makes me really pissed to say we all liked Optimus Prime. I wish they would have come out with the G.I. Joe movie first and killed off Duke, because he can't come back.
Yeah.
But Optimus Prime, then they would have been like, well, we can't kill him off because he was cool. And you could bring him back anyway, and they did. Obviously, it doesn't matter. G.I. Joe has been rewritten so many times, and the cartoon it's not canon. You hear that, people? G.I. Joe cartoon's not canon. It's a comic. And we'll live and die by that. Or it's your head canon, whatever. So what other toys were you playing with? You said Mask.
What others? Yeah, I did Mask. Honestly, I think it was my 6th grade birthday gift was the Thunderhawk. And that was, oh man, that turned the corner, man. I had a buddy that was a little bit more well off, and he had pretty much everything. And I remember, I remember when, gosh, I don't remember what year it was, but we were in Arizona. It was the one time we spent Christmas in Yuma, which sucked for me because I'm used to snow, and we had no snow for Christmas. But my mom had gotten me oh God, dude, as a Joe guy, you're going to tell me to go take a hike. The big black one with the little on the top, the big plane, Cobra plane.
The Night Raven?
Night Raven, thank you. I got the Night Raven for Christmas in Yuma. That was probably one of my favorite toys growing up as well. That thing was it's so cool.
Why would I hate you for that?
Well, because I forgot the name. I don't know. I'm not
Well, you're not a Joe guy. I mean,
my damn toy collection might say otherwise. I mean, I'm not 100% Joe guy, but I got a lot of them. Oh my goodness.
I forget all kinds of G.I. Joe shit, so I don't feel bad about it. I think a lot of I can remember Metalhead, and I'm like, I have the figure. I already done the review of it. There's a lot of things. So
yeah,
especially when you're in when you're doing this, you totally forget.
Blank, yeah.
You get that total blank stare, and
very easy.
It's like sometimes when you watch athletes that just completely go blank.
And you kind of look at it like, really? But then, yeah, when you got something in front of you, this is a little easier because it's not like, multiple people around looking at you. You're just looking at a screen. And
yeah, well, when you do this alone and people wonder how bad I mess up names and how much I mess up the chat, I'm like, I'm doing this alone, and it's not an excuse. It's just kind of the reason. Like, you're reading through this and everyone's hanging on every word you say.
Yeah,
You don't
for
have
3 hours. For 3 hours, nonetheless.
Three,
You know.
3+ hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Fatrid says, "Don't feel bad, Kenzo. I don't remember all the names of the Joe stuff. Hey, if you get past 89, I'm pretty much, like maybe you show me, I'm like, oh, I know what that is, but I don't know what half, what half the stuff is, and so, but hey, they're toys, man. If people get mad at you and don't want to watch it, go ahead. I don't care.
But what's funny is the Joe stuff. The ones that are coming out now that are a little off, like a lot of the ones that aren't straight military, like the guy that just came in, the
Raptor.
Thank you. He just got here today. And like, I remember him. I had him as a kid. Like, I remember having the fridge, like, of course, being a football guy, I liked sports. So I always had, but those years, I remember having all those toys. Like, I had the little bubble. I had the one with the battle armor, Cobra Commander that came with that one. That was just like, I love that.
You talking about the Buzzbore?
Yep, that one had him. It came with him, right? He came with the vehicle.
No, but people think of that.
It came out at the same time, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I never had the Buzzbore, and I'm happy with that. I didn't. Eternian Royalty says he had me hunting down Cobra Commander once a man at SDCC, so he's a tiny bit of a Joe guy. I know you are because I talked to you, but you're not like this huge Joe guy.
Well, as you can see in my painting behind me, yeah,
you're a Motu guy, and that's fine. I feel like I've said this before. I feel like Motu, He-Man, shall I say? I was trying to figure out what that noise was, and then I realized that he's literally making so much noise. I thought there was something going on in your room. He's breathing so hard in his bed right now.
Well, and I was thinking I got that swamp cooler going too. I might turn that off. I might be a little bit noisy on that end.
I don't hear anything on your side.
Okay. Well, as long as you can't hear, I'm good.
No, I don't hear anything. I can hear him, and I thought it was somebody was like, what the hell is that? I realized, it's just this guy laying back down here. He's not happy because the little dog is here for a few days while my ex is out of town. So
taking the attention away.
Oh yeah, again, it's a little Bichon Shih Tzu mix. I mean, most of you have seen him on camera when he's sitting in my lap or whatever when I have him. And they tolerate each other. Like, they don't play together. They don't like.
There's no fights, but there's no playing either, huh?
No. Thank God there's not any fights because he actually bit him one day when we were going to Florida, actually. But I think he was just out of sorts because I had dropped him off at my ex's house, and we all left. So it wasn't like she had picked him up like normal, brought him over. So let's tasty cake.
Tasty cake.
Tasty cake. Okay. I was trying to make sure that this was not a like.
No. It seemed there's been a few people. I think Mega J said the same thing when he first got on there.
It reminds me of something that you can find on an adult website. Starts with a B. You guys can figure out the rest. Yeah. And Joe G is here, or Gonsalves. I love the fact that everyone's saying his name wrong. He never corrected anyone, and I asked him, and everyone was like, "Oh, really? That's how you say it?"
I mean, that's how it's spelled. For God's sakes, just
I know.
Just look at it, right?
Face says Joe. Well, everyone was saying Joe Gonsalves.
Yeah. And growing up in Walsenburg, it was like 80% Hispanic. So that's one of those things where Gonzalez was a very common name, not Gonzalves, but Gonzalez. Yeah.
Gonsalves. Yeah. Because when you say Gonsalves, Joe, great that we're talking about your name here. It feels like it's incomplete.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Gonsalves. Like,
Gonsalves.
There should be something after that. Like, it's not supposed to end like that. Where there's no oomph at the end of it. And Mr. Mad Gus has joined us too. I don't know what balloons means. Maybe he's talking to somebody in the chat. So as you said, to get a little bit older, you talked about being in 6th grade and getting stuff. How long did you collect toys, or did you never stop? I want to say playing with toys. We didn't collect toys as kids. We played with toys.
No, I stopped. There was probably 13, 12, 13. I stopped.
So about 8th to 9th.
Sports, girls. That's sports and girls. That was it. And video games. I mean, Nintendo was like, that was it, man. Tecmo Bowl was life.
I always say, I feel like that middle school is where you start hiding that you're playing with toys. And now when you look back at it, you realize all the kids were still playing with them, but they were all hiding it.
Yeah.
Once you get into high school, it's mostly put away. I was a skateboarder, so I always say like it didn't matter. Like we were already hated. And the guys that I was skating with, they didn't, we were punk rocker skaters. So I always had my G.I. Joes around my house. I lived in the basement. That's why there was like holes. I had screws put in them so I could hang them from the ceiling. Like my Night Raven, I have my original Night Raven. It has a screw through it, and it's hung from the wall. It's hung from the wall now.
Yeah. God, that's a great vehicle, man. Love it. I want to get another one of those. I really do want to go back and get a vintage.
I have that. That and my Tomahawk are both my original. They both have the screw in them where I drilled a small little pilot hole, put a self-tapping hook on it, and it hangs. So.
See, and I had a buddy that had the basement room too, man. And that was like, talk about night and day. Like I had, when I was growing up, I was in the main level. When I got to 7th grade, I got to there was a loft in our house. So in the very back end of the house, they built this loft and there was the stairs going up. And my room was up there where it was obviously easy to jump out the window if I wanted to, sneak out at night or whatever. But I never did that. Mom, never did that. But the basement rooms were so much more fun, dude. It was just, I don't know, something about having a basement room it was tight.
I loved it. And I would hang skateboards up because the wall wasn't finished. So it just had the studs for everything. And it fit almost all the holes perfect. So I was able to take that's why I tell you when I collected people's skateboards, I didn't know I was a collector at the time. Yeah. And these were all beat up or whatever. And I'd hang them put them on my wall. I probably
because it looked cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Like no one else had them and no one else could do it because they didn't have that option. That's so right. Brick says, all right. That's my one sports exception. NES and Sega Genesis sports, I fucked with them. Tecmo Bowl, Double Dribble's Genesis great. Madden.
Yeah. Double Dribble.
I know a lot of people like in Double Dribble.
Well, Double Dribble, you could always get that one corner shot that was like a glitch where you'd always hit the 3. You just never miss. So yeah, it's got to that point. But those,
I will solely admit, and this is why I say like people who don't like football never watched it. I was a skateboarder. I didn't care about sports. It was after I graduated. That's when I started finding sports, starting with hockey and then football. And it's like, I missed this. Like, why didn't one of you tell me this was awesome? And then, my non-skater friends were like, well, we did. And you're like, you didn't try hard enough.
You need to push a little bit more. Like that one ex-girlfriend that you said, did you guys not tell me about this? Like we tried, but you didn't tell me loud enough. Come on.
I'm not even going to go down that road. All right.
I had one that the family was like, well, we kind of did. I was like, not really. But that's funny.
It's funny when you have that breakup and all your friends are like, man, you're like, what? And like, dude, what do you mean? Like,
what do you think?
We knew this. And it's like, well, what do you mean you knew this? Why didn't you say anything? It was like, dude, we did. And then you're like, yeah, you did, but you didn't enough.
You needed to go through my blinders, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
But for me, sports, like once I got to, like I started playing, I went to Catholic school growing up. St. Mary's Catholic school. We were the Crusaders. And fifth grade, I started playing basketball. And I remember I still have the first picture, sitting there with the ball. I had this little afro and I had my Swatch watch. And I still had, like, I was showing it off in the picture. It was like, look at my Swatch watch. And like ever since, so it went to 8th grade. After that, dude, I lived on the basketball court. Like my grandma lived like 3 houses away from the slabs in my little town. And I would stay there from sun up to the lights went on. And that whole summer was just nothing but basketball.
All right, so I got to ask, your Swatch watch, did you have the Swatch guard? Or
yes.
Was that just a skateboarder thing?
No, I had the guard. The guard was...
Yes, the skaters liked it because then it wouldn't scratch it if it hit your grip tape.
Yeah.
I don't know what other purpose there would be for it.
I just thought it looked cool.
But there's no way they were making it just for skateboarders. You know what I mean? So like other people must have been getting the guard also.
Or when your mom says, "You're gonna break it. Here, put this on there." You're gonna break it anyway, because I did break a lot of stuff. So yeah.
Oh look, and Mendoza says, "Gotta have the guard."
Yeah. The guard was nice.
All right, I always had like a skateboard thing, but like once you said Swatch, I was thinking like, wait a minute, like
it was good stuff, man.
Yeah, other people were buying. It wasn't like it was like just made by some skateboarders. All right, so you go into high school and you put the toys away. Did you collect comics or anything?
Never did comics. You know what I did collect? And it's funny because this is the first time I actually had a collection of my own that I had to pay for on my own. Since 7th grade, I collected Air Jordans every year. I got the new ones. I had to cut grass in the summertime. And my mom would always say, I will only pay the tax. So you got to do the 135 and I will pay the rest. So birthday money. My birthday was in April. I'd always been like the Eric Cartman thing. Don't bring me anything. Just bring me cash. Bring me cash. So they'd always just give me $5 here, $5 there. And finally, when I would get to that point, I would get a pair. I'd maybe get 2 a year, maybe 1 a year. But my collection was Jordan shoes.
So you were collecting them, or were you actually wearing them?
Well, I mean, I was wearing them, but it was one of those to where I was. When you have those, it's like you make sure that everything is good. You play in them, but then you clean the heck out of them and set them up and display them, and yeah.
What if I told you I skated in my Jordan 3s? The first one that had the clear bottom. It had, I think it was the Jordan 3. They had the black. They came out with the black and the white and red ones. They were more white. They had red on them. Were they the 4s? Oh, yeah, they were the 4s.
Fives. I'm sorry. Fives because they had the net on the side and they had the glow 3M tongue. So like if you shined it in a light, it would.
Oh, okay.
It was 3M,
I remember the clear sole.
Yeah, clear soles, and they would turn yellow if you didn't clean them good. Yeah,
those were so comfortable. And then I ended up skating in them, which I completely destroyed them. They were not meant for skateboarding. Although Jordan 1s were huge for skateboarding.
Yeah.
Because they were given, like everyone that got sponsored by Nike, they just gave them to them. And the way they were made, they just really worked for skateboarding.
But they were uncomfortable as all get out, man. Those ones are terrible.
Yeah, that was really before my time. I'm not going to lie about that. I got into skateboarding and it was like when I was 11. So somewhere around like 6th grade, 7th grade. But yeah,
it's kind of about the same time I was like really into basketball. It was about that same time of I broke off the toys, and I mean, but I've always been a big cartoon guy no matter what. So that never stopped. Like I continue to watch cartoons all the way through all this stuff, even though I wasn't collecting the toys and all that. I would always love watching the cartoons.
And what kind of cartoons were you watching? Like,
oh, well, I mean, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats was one of my favorites. Mask. Those were always like there.
So just kind of like thinking about. I feel like I've actually never talked to anyone about this or thought about it, but that seems like it was like the easy way to stay as a kid because there's nothing to hide. It's just on. If you're there, you've probably already seen them because most of them are reruns anyway. So if you're sitting home and watching the Mask Device for G.I. Joe, you're probably not thinking too much of it. You can just turn it off if your friend shows up. And if your friend shows up, you're like, oh, it's just on. I was just watching it. And
they'll sit down with you. Oh, I remember this,
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that. But I think cartoons were so good.
But you know what? I'll still sit down and watch Looney Tunes all day. Like you give me some of the old Bugs Bunny cartoons, forget it, man. I love that stuff.
See, when you get into that, then I think a lot of that you're just taking yourself way back to your childhood when times were much simpler.
Yeah, they were. Voltron too. I forgot Voltron was a good one. I loved Voltron.
I've talked about this. I never watched Voltron. I didn't really know what Voltron was. I feel like I was cheated out of it.
It was a good one.
Yeah. And I actually remember when Power Rangers came out, and I remember thinking when I saw Voltron, I'm like, this is like a cheap ripoff of Voltron. Or I'm sorry, Voltron was a cheap ripoff of Power Rangers, and I didn't watch the Power Rangers, but I started seeing that afterwards, and I don't know why I didn't really know Voltron. That's what's
it just depends. Sometimes it depends on the channels you get, man. Honestly, it's funny because when I was growing up in the small town, we actually had like the Denver stations, and then all of a sudden, for some random reason, we'd have WGN. And we'd have that Chicago station all the time. So we'd have Cub games whenever, but the biggest thing was getting up at 6:00 in the morning and watching the Bozo show and seeing these kids throw the little ball into the little buckets and win these big play sets and the G.I. Joe and He-Man, all that stuff. They would win them. And you're like, I want to do, oh God, that was my dream to get on Bozo and throw the ball into the bucket. And every time you throw one further and make it, you would get something bigger.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh my God. That was so good. Yeah. Bozo was good stuff, man.
Mr. Madiga says, I always love Looney Tunes, good old American violence. Yeah, you're right. I used to love Tom and Jerry. I could sit back and watch Tom and Jerry. And the funniest thing about Tom and Jerry is, you knew Jerry was never going to get it. He was always going to come out on top.
Sometimes they both got jacked up at the end, and it was even, but he never caught him.
I never really got him ever. All right, so you're into sports. What video games? You talked about the video games. What video games did you?
Well, so what's funny is I don't know how I remember this one, but my great grandma Eunice, she actually lived to 102, which is crazy because all these Italian women in my family, my grandma now being 101, she was going into a home, and in order to not lose money that she had, she gave a lot of us a bunch of money for Christmas one year. And I remember, so I started out doing Atari. So that little story I'll go back to, but I started out with Atari. Of course, I had just the 2400, which was just the Pac-Man, the really bad generic Pac-Man. Pong. There was no Dig Dug because that was like my cousins had Dig Dug because it was the more expensive Atari.
It was a 7800.
Yeah, so they had the good one. But then, of course, the NES. I remember. So when I was 11, there was Cat 102.3 was the radio station in Colorado Springs. I won the 7th caller, and I won $102.70, and I ended up buying Mega Man 2 for my NES. So I remember little things like that, but Mega Man was one of my favorites. Of course, Tecmo Bowl for Nintendo, Super Tecmo Bowl. But then when I got over to the better systems, it was Mortal Kombat. Everything was the fatalities and the blood. It was like, forget it. Really? That was the coolest thing for me. Street Fighter was pretty cool, but Mortal Kombat was my gig for sure. I had my friends come over. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. I waited for you to stop.
Sorry, my bad.
Wraith Mace with the $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Saying Kenzo. I don't want to yell at anyone and like break anyone's eardrums. It's funny. I never really played Mega Man. One of my best friends growing up absolutely loves it.
A good one.
And I'm not sure why I never played that. I was always a Mario guy. Anything that was made by Nintendo.
Metroid was a good one too.
Oh, Metroid was. Whew. Metroid. Everyone talks about strong female figures and everything. Metroid was the one where you beat it twice, and then you found out when they take the helmet off, what they look like, and you find out that it's a female. And I don't remember one boy being like, I'm not playing this stupid game anymore because it didn't matter. No. That's why it makes me mad to help some people act like, there's no strong females, or it's just it's always got to be the man. No, dude, it's not like that at all, dude. As long as it works, that's all that matters. Eternity with the Shane McMahon intro. Let me tell you something. When I was trying to find something for super chats, I thought about that song. It's a real song. There's like lyrics and everything. I didn't realize it. As many times as I've seen Shane O'Mac come out dancing around, I didn't realize it was like a whole rap song or some. It's not good. But that part is good. So I had to clip it.
I literally thought it was just for the intro. I had no idea that was something. That's funny.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's his song is pretty damn long. I don't think the lyrics are actually in when he comes out. They just play the music. But it's not good. It's not a good song.
That's funny.
Yeah, I never played Metro, and I didn't play any sports games because I was, like I said, I was a skateboarder.
What about California games there? You had the
TNC Surf.
TNC Surf Designs. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, you would do board slides all the way across that like guardrail, and then you do the surfing.
The surfing was cool.
I always liked Spy Hunter, even though it had no ending, just went on and on.
It kept going. Karnov was a good one for me. If you never heard of that one for the Nintendo, you're this big pot belly guy with a mustache, and he would it just the way that it played out was a fun one. And it was a weird game. Like we used to have this place called so we didn't have Blockbuster, we didn't have any of that stuff in the small town. We had Paperback Trading Post. They had videos and they had Nintendo games, and then they sold books, and they also sold bus fares. That was where we went to rent our games. Paperboy, yes, that was another one.
Paperboy was good because it translated from the arcade to Nintendo really well. But with Paperboy, Kung Fu.
Kung Fu, yeah.
I loved Kung Fu. All right, Kung Fu was so much damn fun. All right. So my mom, before she passed away, I was spoiled. So the three of us, there's three friends of mine, myself, Nick, and Chris. They were the big video game guys. But my mom bought me Final Fantasy, the first one, and we stayed up for 3 days straight playing it. I ended up beating it when they weren't there because they both went home. Now Nick lived in my neighborhood. Chris did not. He had to ride his bike home. Do you remember the original Final Fantasy?
I remember it, but I remember that I did not play it that much.
Okay.
I do remember.
Do you remember you had 4 people, and when one would attack, they would walk out and then do their little thing and then move back?
Come back, yep.
Chris said, I'm riding down the street, and I'm talking about a main street. He's riding his bike. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, all I can see are little people coming out and doing this the whole way home. And it was probably about an hour bike ride, especially, at our age. And he's like, that's all that I saw. I was so tired, and all I could see was these fucking guys, the little fucking black mage that had a blue gown. He'd come out and
yeah. Oh God.
Like, why did you leave? I don't understand why you left the house. Like, why didn't you just fall asleep here? It didn't make any sense.
Well, and see, that's one thing that my kid, I tell him, you have no idea. Like my buddy John and my best friend John, we would do that to where we'd stay up all night and play the games. When we beat Zelda, it took us we beat it at like 3 a.m. We finally got it, and we were so excited. And we went out. My buddy's parents were having a little get together, and his buddy was there. We passed Ganon. And the dad comes up. He goes, "Past Ganon? I don't know about that, but I'm gonna come pass some gas." And he came over and he farted over in the room. And it's one of those things that, how stupid, but I always remember that, But yeah, that was, man. We never got to like save anything. You had to beat it.
Yeah,
like, Mega Man was so hard to beat all the way through.
I was just thinking about this today because I saw a meme or something come across on Instagram. There are levels on Super Mario Brothers that I've never beat because you do the warp zone.
The warps, yeah.
So this was years ago that I was thinking about. I'm like, there's like 4 different boards that I've never beat because you never go to them.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So when you see somebody do it, but I also tell people it was Super Mario Brothers 2. That's the one that kind of veered off the other types of Mario, and I played it all the time. And like you said, you didn't save anything, so you started it, and I would play it mostly in the winter when I couldn't skateboard. But I would start playing Public Enemy's Fear of a Black Planet. And to this day, if I listen to Fear of a Black Planet, I know exactly where I am in that game.
Yeah.
There's no way that I could beat that game. If you put the game on right now, I could not beat it. But I can see exactly where I was. Like where Princess Peach was, if you're going to use Princess Peach, if you're going to use Toad, like bouncing around. All because of that album. And it took me about that long to beat it. But you're right. Like, there was no saving it. That's why I get all mad at my kid. I'm like, I told you I want this done now. He's like, I can't stop the game. I'm like, hit pause.
Yeah, you can pause it. Well, and so this, what's funny is that this actually gets it back to where now I had a corner area where we had a little breakfast nook. My folks got crazy into the it's online. They didn't go to the auctions, but they would buy the storage units. So they had found one of the storage units had a wooden framed tube TV, the old tube TV. And if you remember, if you have Duck Hunt, Duck Hunt does not work on the new TVs because there's no glass to refract the shot. So I told him, please, can I have that? So now I have that in that room. I took the Nook out, got rid of it. I have that TV in there. I just hooked up my Nintendo. I got Duck Hunt in there. So Merrick, I showed my son how to play. He's loving it. But get this, first try, and I swear this is not a big fish story. I will put this one on my son. I beat Tyson on my first try. Still could beat him.
I don't think I've ever beat Mike Tyson. I made it to him.
I was that kid. I was the kid that always beat him.
Brick says, did anyone pause it and turn the TV out, turn off the TV? Like when your parents force you to eat or go to church.
Yeah.
Or when you wake up in the morning? The perfect example is Mallrats. When he wakes up in the morning and he turns back on the... Have you seen Mallrats?
Mm-hmm.
When he wakes up and Hartford is beating... who is it? He's like, do you know how often the whale beats... Oh, man, who was... Someone will let me know. He unpauses it and just starts playing the game first thing as he wakes up.
Yeah. Well, we had to turn them off because my mom always thought that it was going to burn into the screen. So not only did I have to use... For a while, I had to use the old black and white TV in the back. And then finally we got one that was color because then they moved the old color to the back and they got a new one. But yeah, we always had to play it on the bad TV.
I don't even want to say how bad that sounded.
What did I say?
That your parents moved the colors to the back.
The color TV, sorry.
Oh, color TV. Okay. All right.
So the black and white went away. Jerk. Yeah. Thanks for joining, guys. We'll see you now.
And that's the end of my channel as I get demonetized and rooted tomorrow.
He said, what? Yeah. Yeah. So, but we always had the bad TV. That's why, same thing when my kid plays on the brand new good TV. I'm like, dude, you had no idea. Like, you don't even know how spoiled you are.
Oh, hell no. They don't. Yeah, they don't get it at all. Like, during COVID, I ordered Tony Hawk 1 and 2. And my son's never seen me play video games, and he had an old PlayStation 3, and I was able to pop it in there. And I tried playing with him, and I did fine. He hated it. He doesn't like smash 'em. He calls them smash 'ems. But he's like, oh my God, you can actually play video games. I'm like, yeah, I know.
I started it, man.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not great at them. Why don't you ever play? I'm like, because I know the road that it leads me down. Like, I will spend way too much time on it. And I'm already spending too much time on other things. But I don't ever want to go down that road again. It's just not a road. There's other things that I would rather put my time into. So that's what I do. But he hated it, and he's looking at the graphics going, "This is awful." I'm like, dude, you have no idea how good this was.
Yeah, it was top notch. Yeah.
All right, when you went from 8 bits to 16 bits, it was night and day. And then you went to that 32-bit and then the 64-bit.
Yeah.
I can remember telling my mom this. I didn't have any Atari, ColecoVision, and television. I wanted Nintendo. And I said, it has the best graphics ever. And I remember her and my dad. My mom was like, well, what happens when something comes out with better graphics? And my words were, there'll never be anything with better graphics.
I still love it. I still love it. My last video game that I actually played and was consistent with was Madden 04. That was it.
I only played a couple of
I was
Maddens.
done after that.
Yeah, I played a couple of Maddens, and I get frustrated with that type of game, to be 100% honest. But yeah, wow, that's probably the most video game talk I've had.
Yeah.
And they are fun. You know, like my friends got into. I've told this before. My friends got into Street Fighter. They'd always go to the arcade. All I wanted to do was skateboard. So that's what they would do, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't like Street Fighter, because to me it took my friends away from skateboarding. So I ended up skating by myself or meeting new people, and I'd always end up at the arcade. So I knew and they'd always try to get me to play. And my buddy Chris would always he's trying to teach me because he wanted someone else. And Chris is like, he was just great at it. Like, he's just super smart, and that was his thing. But what was funny is that my best friend at the time, they were talking about this guy, Ryan, that they met playing Street Fighter at the arcade called Tilt.
And we had a Tilt.
Yeah. So one day I go over his house, over Brandon's house, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Ryan, the guy we always play with, he's here." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he's sitting at the table, and he's, "Hey, this is Ryan." I'm like, "I know Ryan." And Ryan's like, "Hey, Larry, how are you doing?" And they're like, how do you guys know each other? I'm like, he used to live in my neighborhood. Ryan was this really big guy. I had all the guns. Like, I had all the toy guns. So everyone come to my house to get guns. Ryan didn't have much. Big guy, a couple years older. He made a bazooka out of wrapping paper roll. He stuck a pencil through it, and then he took one of those one of the red pieces from a 3D glasses and put it up there as like the sight.
The sight.
I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
That's awesome.
Like, I let him play with like any gun that I had, so I could play with that. And here he's like envy of everything that that I have, and he has this fucking anything that I could have gone and made, but I'm not Kenzo's creation, so I can't create anything. And so they're like, "How the hell do you guys know each other?" I'm like, "Dude, like, we used to play guns all the time together." And then his grandmother and aunt that he lived with just up and moved, and he went with them, and like that was it. But yeah, that's why I didn't like Street Fighter. I love the figures. And now I have like this. Yeah. I have this attachment to it, but I couldn't play Street Fighter. I never could. Like, if you asked me to sit down and play Street Fighter, I'd be like, "Yeah, no, that's okay. I know Hadouken." All right.
Yeah. sweep the leg. No, honestly, like, and for me, the arcade, there was two things I always remember doing a lot of: Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate, which I was going to say earlier before the super chat on Wraith Mace I was a guy who, like, during lunch in high school, I would have 5th hour off because I already had enough, credits to graduate. Yeah. So they would come over during lunch and we would play Mortal Kombat simply because they knew I knew all the fatalities. Do the fatalities. So that and air hockey, man. Air hockey was like the greatest thing ever playing at the arcade, man.
Yeah, to one of them smash your knuckle.
That's all right. It's part of the game, man.
Was one smash your knuckle and you're like, "Damn it." All right, so you go through high school. So what other sports did you play? Did you play football?
And I hate, this is one of those where I don't regret much, but this was one that I kind of do. Going through high school, I had that mom, "You're going to hurt yourself if you play football." Because I played Bantam League. I played football when I was younger. And of course, basketball was right after. So my fall sport was golf. I ended up, and I taught myself how to golf. I never had any lessons. A buddy of mine worked in the summertime over there, so we could golf for free. But I golfed in the fall and then did basketball in the winter, and that was my sports. I didn't do anything else. But loved golf, man. I still love golf if my back lets me,
So let me ask, how tall are you?
6 even.
Okay, I thought you were taller.
6 foot.
Maybe
yeah.
Because you told me what your profession was before you had your injury. So, did you graduate high school?
Yeah.
I have to ask that because I made mistakes of Well, when you graduated high school and they went, I didn't graduate. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, no, I
wasn't
love being
expecting
a sports fan and or being a sports lover and playing basketball. I had to have at least a C- to play. If I ended up getting D's and F, I wouldn't be able to play. So I had to do that simply so I could play basketball.
So after you graduated, what did you do? Did you go to college or just start in the workforce?
I went to college for a year. I did one of those stupid things that many people do. I met a girl and was in love, and she was, she was in Walsenburg and I was in Pueblo. I went to it was the USC Indians back at that point, but now it's CSU Thunderwolves because of course they changed the name. But when I was driving back and forth, so I was working at Famous Footwear from 5 to close. I would work graveyards at Loaf and Jug, and then I did.
Loaf and Jug?
What's that?
What is Loaf and Jug?
You don't know Loaf and Jug?
No.
It's 7-Eleven, Loaf and Jug, Circle K. It's gas station corner.
I know
store.
Circle K, and I obviously know 7-Eleven.
Yeah, so corner store. Loaf and Jug must be
okay.
Southern. I don't know, but and then I did. Of course, when I was in high school, I had a job as a lifeguard in the summertime. So I had my certification and all that. And I worked at the college and I did lifeguarding for the old folks in the morning.
Sherlock says these store names are wild. Yeah, we're gonna have to do an episode about store names and like
Loaf and
you
Jug.
heard people talk about like I'm sorry, I just quick like children. We had Children's Palace, but there was Children's. It's owned by Children's. It was owned by Children's Palace, but it was something else. Children's something. And they're the exact same because when you see the look at them, you're like, oh, Child World, that's it.
Child World.
But when you look at it, they're all made like a palace. They're owned by the same company. I don't know why they didn't have the same name. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
When it got brought up.
What about Come and Go? Come and Go is a bad one. Yeah, but so I had the certification. So I was the lifeguard for all the old folks when they were doing their workouts in the morning. And then I went to school. So it was just a recipe for like total disaster. I was going in for an art major. I went 2 semesters and then I was done. That was the most of the schooling afterwards. But then I started working at Columbia House to give you all those mailers that you hated. Everything for a penny.
That just came up.
Yeah.
And like 2 weeks ago. Who was I? Come on, chat, tell me. I swear it was on this. I think it was on this one. Or was it on Punk's pad? I think it was on here. Tony says he just left Quick Trip. Someone else had mentioned Quick Trip. So you worked at Columbia House.
I did all the mailers. I worked in the letter shop. So I worked on the machines to send you all that bullshit mail.
So was it based out of there, or did they have different?
They had one in Colorado City where it was. So Colorado City is a very small little place. It's in between where I grew up and where I live now. So it's about 20 miles south of where I live now. And they had the warehouse there. And then they had the warehouse in Terre Haute, Indiana. So we had the 2 warehouses. And it's, of course, obviously all of them is shut down, but it had shut down before the Terre Haute. The Terre Haute kept going, but hey man, you didn't pay your bill. You better pay that bill, man.
Listen, I got 12 CDs for 1 penny. The problem was every other CD after that was like $15. Yeah. At least. Way too expensive. And they never had anything that I needed.
Well, and you know what the beauty of it working there, because they were
BMG too. Wasn't it BMG the other one?
BMG was another one, yeah. But we had those things where if you had a broken crate or any of the pallets came in jacked up, we always, at the end of every month, we had the employee sale. So every CD was $3, a DVD was $5, and a cassette and a VHS tape was $2. And we could and they had all of them, man. I had like Goodfellas. I had like the Godfather on VHS sealed. Like that was great back then, you know.
Just because of a cracked case. I mean,
yeah, yeah. So
you're overpaying for the stuff, so you might as well get it in that crack.
That's it, man. So, but I remember getting my first DVD player from Columbia House because they actually were owned by Sony, so they had some refurbished DVD players, and I got a refurbished Sony DVD player for $400. My first one I ever had, I had Twister and I had Armageddon. Those were like the two coolest movies and Friday, of course, but those were the two coolest to have on DVD. And that was my first go around with that. That was cool.
That is crazy. I mean,
that was like 1997. That was right out of high school.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when I got my first. Yeah, because when I got my first DVD player, I got Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
I think that was what I bought when I got it, because I was with my ex-girlfriend, so it was about 98, 99. That when it would have been, and they were I think I paid $300 for it.
Crazy price,
because her ex was into laser discs, which poor people spent the money on laser discs. I feel bad for all those people that spent money on HD DVD rather than investing in Blu-ray.
Yeah. And they always said, just like Betamax and VHS, it was always say like, well, what's the thing that tipped the scale? They always said it was the P word, popcorn. Corn is what always tipped the scale, and which was going to win. Whoever got a big contract with them was who took over.
We had Beta for the longest time, and it's funny because the only place you could rent them from after a while is just. And I've asked about it. I swear it's either right next to where Sergeant Red's is, or where Sergeant Red's is. But Sergeant Red's, he's like, no, this was never that. Maybe it's the one, like, because I know what street it was, because we had to drive, get 20 minutes to get there. When it came to Blu-ray and HD, I remember saying, I said Blu-ray is going to win because they have Spider-Man. And Spider-Man had just come out. It was huge. Mm-hmm. Sony owned it, and I was like, there's no way, because they were not letting that stuff cross over. So people either picked one or the other, and it didn't take long, and you really saw that that Blu-ray just killed it. Yeah. Not to mention, then they stuck it in the PlayStation, and it was like,
that was
always for me. PlayStation. Yeah. So it didn't matter. Like, oh wait, I don't even have to buy it, and it's
gonna work.
So, all right, so you don't go to well, you kind of went to college. Kind of sound like what I did. You start making money, and you're probably living at home, and you're like, I'm rich. And then you realize, like, oh, wait a minute, that's not that much money.
Well, to be honest, what's kind of funny is I was that kid that said, once I move out, I'm out. And I left right out of, I graduated high school, I moved up. So I came up to Pueblo, and I moved up here right after, and I paid $500 a month for rent. It was a 2-bedroom. I had a roommate. I had roommates for a while when I was younger. So he still has them. Holy cow.
He's holding out for him to come back.
Yeah. This is the year.
Every Christmas, he's like, what's that next HD DVD?
That's awesome. But
he's yelling at the Target employee with his guns hanging out.
Can you please just go in the back and check? Yeah.
I know you have one. Look at the app. It says it's right here. Armageddon. It's right there. All right.
Oh, God. That's good. No, and so I always had roommates, so that always made it easier. So after Columbia House, they were getting ready to. You knew the writing was on the wall. You knew they were going to get ready to shut down. Then I went over to the Target distribution center, and I was a warehouse grunt for a while. So I did the Target distribution center for about 3 or 4 years too. So that was $13 and $13.63 an hour, man. I was rolling in the dough at that point.
All right, I gotta say hi to you, Faker Battle Cat. He's also saying hi to you, Matthew. I know we have never seen this name in here. All right, unless if he changed his name. First off, I remember the big purple F. But thank you for joining us. Do you know who he is?
He is in my circle, yes, sir.
Okay.
Him and Eternity and Royalty are my two guys. Yep.
Well, thank you for joining. Hopefully, you'll think I'm decent enough to tune in to the first. I can't say the beginning of my live shows because I go for a half hour before I get into the news, but that's where you find the Mo2. And it'll just be like 4 people because everyone leaves.
Mm-hmm. I'm still in there going, yay. No.
It's actually funny because I actually see a boost now, and I think it's because of running jokes. I see like a big boost during the McFarlane. I think that's just because we're just ripping on it, making jokes about it. No offense to people that collect McFarlane. But
dude, I'm a McFarlane collector based on Ross. Like I find so much. I'm like, I can make a custom out of that. Or
I don't
look at that.
$4.
$4.
We just started getting Ross down here or up here. And they just opened one by me, which is oddly enough right next to where the Toys R Us used to be. It's not a fair trade.
Mm-mm.
They haven't had shit. I'm just saying they haven't had shit. The only thing that I bought from there was I did buy the Black Series Lando Calrissian and Skiff Guard because it was finally $6. And I'm like, I'll spend $6 for this.
No.
I would not spend $10 on it.
No.
Yeah,
And
Tony's like,
the table finally came out, so they're going to get ready for all the Christmas stuff coming up. So that's going to be nice when the toys come out for Christmas. So
I'm waiting to see that because I didn't get to see it. Yeah. Now I have Ollie's, and I stopped into Ollie's, and if you want Marvel Legends figures right now for fodder, they have all kinds, especially suited figures, like guys wearing suits. They have a whole bunch there. So head over to your Ollie's and enjoy the $5 or I think they're $10 actually. So they're really not that cheap. I mean, when you start adding up $10 figures, you buy 10 of them, you spend $100 there. So
right, yeah, that's why I like the Ross because you're looking at basically $4.99, $5.99. I even got like what was it, Snake Face, a deluxe Snake Face Masters of the Universe for $3.99 at Ross.
I don't know why I should have just bought it. They had the 2-pack of Star Wars figures, Zuckuss and the Forloom.
I got that today.
For was it $3?
$3.99, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, $3.99 because they're $2 each.
Yeah.
They had like 4 of them. I'm like, I should just buy these, put them aside, and eventually sell them for like $10 each.
Yeah,
but I didn't because I'm like, it's just gonna take up more room.
I bought the figure from Dune because it has what's his name, Christopher Walken. I was like, they have a figure of Christopher Walken, and I got it for $4. So I'm like, the hell with that, I'm getting it.
Well, and then you got that big thing you showed us on.
Oh, the Dune thing, yeah. Or no, not Dune. What is it? It's a game, Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's. I haven't seen the Tracksuit Mafia at Ollie's yet. Those I will pick up a couple tracksuit. I was talking about the actual like suit figures, but I did hear the Tracksuit Mafias are there, so I will definitely. I'll pick up 1 or 2 of those. Ooh, look at this! We have a big time YouTuber, Mega J Retro. I'm still hunting for the D&D cartoon collection to complete the set. Counting on Ollie's to come through. What are you looking for, Mega J? Hit me up and I'll let you know if I have anything.
Yeah, and I've been hitting Ross a lot, so let me know too. Yeah, we'll get you.
I didn't say I'll get anything. I'll just let you know if I see it. I'll send you pictures of it. You can put that in your collection.
Well, then look me up. I'll get you one, man. I'll find it for you, man.
I have an issue with Mega J that he won't drink Pepsi, and I gave him a Pepsi, and he's like, I don't drink Pepsi because I owed him a Pepsi. He'll only drink Coke. Oh no, he will only drink Coke.
Pepsi's good, dude.
Yeah, at PowerCon they didn't. I think I do think I got him a Coke at. I think I got you a Coke at Joe Fest. It was hilarious because I didn't realize it. He was like, his brother was there, and he's like, "Do you want to tell him?" Or I was like, "I don't drink Pepsi."
Wow.
And then we went.
I'll drink any soda. I'm a soda freak, man. I love soda. Don't matter.
I like Coke more than Pepsi, but I don't really notice that much of a difference. To be 100% honest,
I think Pepsi's sweeter. I like it. I like it a little better.
It's definitely sweeter, but I don't have an issue. I mean, I drink fake Coke. I don't care.
Give me a big K, bro. Give me a big K. I'm good. No.
Yeah, Maggie, I know you appreciate it, and that's why I can joke around with you. It made for an awesome story because then we went out to eat after, and I got there later, and the first thing he tells me is, They don't have Coke here either, only Pepsi products.
That's the thing. Sometimes that's what it comes down to, man. When you go to a restaurant, if you can't do one or the other, man, that's why I'm like, nah, I'll drink it all. Give me whatever you got.
And here's
water.
GI bro, drink water. Like,
yes. Well, I don't drink alcohol, so that's one thing. My vice is soda, and I know it's just as bad for me with sugar and all that stuff, but I'm not a big drinker on the other stuff. So.
GI bro is just right. He's in between his workouts right now.
Drink creatine. No.
All right. So you talked about a few jobs that you did. During any of this time, have you started collecting anything, or are you just?
No, I didn't
on the bed
at all. Like I was really, I did go through my little phase of drinking and all that stuff, and but shoes, Jordans, I would still get Jordans, and I would keep them.
So are you collecting Jordans at this time, or are you?
At that point, when I started working the job after was Denver Mattress Company, and I ended up getting up to where I was a manager, and I was doing mattress sales, and that was a very good paying job. It was commission, but obviously it's as good as you can get it. Yeah. But I did pretty good on that one, and I did a lot of Jordans at that point, and I was buying one to keep and one to wear, so I was doing that at that point. So yeah, I was collecting.
And Joe says, in the 90s, I love when people would offer me Coke. I'm not going to fill in on the joke. I think people can figure it out. I love Joe. I'm going to have him on soon. I think second week of November, actually. Joe's awesome. He's so, yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. So you do collect Jordans now? Do you still collect them?
No, I dropped off. They're the price and everything. They're $225. It used to be $135 for a pair of shoes. Now it's $225 for all the new ones. And the drops are so hard to get. Now I wear a size 14, so it's really difficult because they don't stock that much of that size. So it's almost impossible to find them.
Jess Jeff is saying, Punk, those are some weird strippers you have in the thumbnail. I think they might have a skin condition. Well, those are actually Kenzo strippers.
Wait. What do we do? What are you talking about? Is it the fakers?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Yep. And I put them in because I know, like, one of them is not, or you made that.
One of them was a custom.
So they're his strippers. I prefer my strippers to be human.
I've never been.
I didn't say I'll only take those ones. I said I just prefer it. All right, so you're collecting your shoes, but you don't collect toys or anything like that yet.
Mm-mm.
What about video games? You still playing video games, or?
Like I said, I did video games up until. And it was really Madden. I mean, when I was, of course, with my roommates, we would do those franchises, and we would go through and we'd get our team, and none of us could pick the Broncos. We had to pick somebody else, but we just do the franchises, and then at the end, I kind of dropped off of that too. I never really started collecting again until 19 when the Origins came
okay.
back. Yeah.
I'm really starting to feel like a lot of the collectors right now, it was Classified and Origins that brought them back in. I feel like a lot of the Motu guys, it's Origins, a lot of the Joe guys, it's the Classified, which is great because many of them, like myself and you, we've veered off to other lines also.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't foresee myself ever stopping collecting because there's just so much stuff that I like. And when there's so much G.I. Joe, and that's what I focus on, you can't collect everything. But if there was no G.I. Joe, it's kind of weird. If there was no G.I. Joe, if Classified went away, I would definitely be more into Mythic Legions and fantasy stuff. Which is nothing that I'm not that I'm saying nothing because I have I have them around me, but I'm not overly into them. It's kind of odd to think that that's what I would switch from. But again, G.I. Joe goes back to my childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, when I started doing Origins, then I found out about classics. And then I found out about the 2000X line. I never really paid attention back then. And then, of course, I really started kind of backlogging a lot of I have the 2000X Castle Grayskull, and I have a lot of 2000X figures. And then I also have a lot of classified figures as well, just kind of going back.
Yeah, you sent me stuff that, you get a lot of the classified stuff, and you found great deals on them too. That's what's even better.
Yeah. The 3-pack, man. I got a bunch of those 3-packs for what, $11, I think, of the Viper?
You and Aaron the Toy Enhancer.
Ooh.
You bought them all. That's why no one else could find them. Aaron the Toy Enhancer, I think bought like 11 sets of them.
Oh, I think I got 4. I think I got 4 sets.
That's army building. I'm sorry. I have one set. If I would have found them at Ross, I would have bought at least one, probably 2. But I have so many Vipers as it is. Yeah. Not like a lot of people that have, armies of them. But so let's get into your last career of being a prison guard. And when do you meet?
Don't say prison guard.
I'm sorry. You're
correctional officer, sir.
Correctional officer.
Just kidding. I don't care. But a lot of people would say that.
Well, I know a lot of police officers don't like being called cops.
Cops, right?
Yeah.
And
I usually say police officers, especially if I'm with. But I'm never. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't know why prison guard would be. Why would that be offensive? Just
not I don't know. I didn't really care, but that is one of those things. They're like, you're not a prison guard. You're a correctional officer, or you're a correctional professional, because you're actually trying to rehabilitate someone to get out into the world later. So you're not really just guarding them to stay in. You're actually trying to help rehabilitate them, I guess.
So guard says, guard work at the zoo. Correctional officers work for a living. And you know what? I can respect that, because I've often said about my job, it's not a job, it's a career. I've done it for 23 years. Yeah. I make a living off it. It's not a job. To me, a job is, no offense to anyone, someone that works at a gas station, stuff like that, where you can bounce somewhere else. And I'm not talking about managers. That's completely different. So I do understand that, but I mean, I just, to me, it doesn't matter. If someone says that's your job, I don't get mad. But when there are some people that have jumped into my workspace, and you can tell they just take it as their next job, and it's like, dude, this is my fucking career, man. I spent a lot of time here. I know a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff about old copiers I know that I'll never need to see again, because they're so old. They're all in the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so correctional officer, right?
Yeah, correctional officer. I worked. What's funny is too, and I was kind of in between. So I had done a couple things. I did sales for a while. So I even worked in hospitality. I worked for a Marriott for a while. So I was literally going from, and of course, being a manager at the mattress place, I went from taking everybody's shit to like, okay, now I don't have to take anybody. Now you literally have to take no shit at all. But you're going to get a lot either way. I mean, that's one of those things where, if you don't have thick skin, don't ever try to do something like that. No.
Well, that's what I say about being on YouTube. If you don't have thick skin, you better not be on here.
Yeah.
All right. Or don't read any of the comments. Don't be on social media at all.
Yeah, true.
If you don't have thick skin, if you're super thin skin, don't be on social media. It is a cesspool. End of story.
Well, and it's sad, because there are a lot of people that end up starting that career based on the fact that, they were picked on. They were saying, well, now I'm going to have some power. And there were people like that. And it's funny because you hear about it, but then when you see it and you get these people that are door warriors, they call them, they will talk all the shit when the guy's locked up and close the door. But, of course, when they're all in the day hall, they don't really say much, but they really like to huff and puff when that door's closed. But it's a depressing world, but it is absolutely insane, just different world all the way around, man.
And just Jeff, I don't know what you do, but you obviously have some sort of insight. Juvenile corrections make for great birth control, by the way. Yeah. So one of our bigger clients is a juvenile. Well, it's not just that. It's a whole. It's called Spectrum. They do all kinds of stuff. They do mentally handicapped section. That has nothing to do with the juvenile facility, but they have juvenile facilities. And when I have to walk to the pods, I don't know if that's what you guys call them. They're called pods.
Yeah.
You have to be escorted. I would sit there and I talk to some of the guards, and some of the guards would be like, yeah, you can see some of these guys that you know that this is where they're going to be the rest of their life. Like they're going to get out of here and they're just going to move right back into the same type of living that they are, and they're going to end up in prison the rest of their life. Yeah. And then there's other people that, you know, other kids that you actually see that they're here, they know they made a mistake, and they don't ever want to be here again.
Yep.
So, Jeff said, everyone's brave when there's 3 inches of steel between you and them, and vice versa.
That is no joke. And they know, I mean, we're all people, and they have nothing better to do than to judge and check and see how you act on a certain level, and then how you act with them. And if you're putting on some BS bravado that you're not that type of person, I think that's one of those things where I worked in a high security prison, close custody level in Lyman, which is like I said, it's all level 4s and level 4 and down. They didn't have any level 5s, but none of level 5s were like locked down 23 hours a day, you know, and then get out for an hour. But the level 4 and level 3, high end, a lot of murderers, a lot of just real bad people in general. But that was one of those where working there, it's you treat people with respect in a certain aspect. I tried not to read a lot of their crimes because I didn't want to treat someone different based on the fact if a dude's messing with kids, then I'm going to treat him different if I know.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to like do things, but I mean, I'm going to talk to him a certain way because fuck that. I don't care. And
that's not what your job is to do.
No.
Your job is to
they're paying their debt being in prison.
Yeah.
My job is not to make it worse on them. My job is to, you know, if I can help some of them. And there's a few now that I don't work there. There's a few even that had friended me on Facebook that, you know, they're doing well. And that, you know, that they were somebody that one guy, he was driving from Wyoming to Fort Collins, got in a car accident, killed his best friend. He was drunk. That could have happened to how many people? I mean, people that do that, how many people have just done that to where it was an ugly mistake and he's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. But he did his time and he got out and it didn't change him as a person. But there are people that, yeah, you know that it's done. Like they're going to come back once they get out. It sucks.
And that's just, it's sad. I've always said like my job is, well, first off, to stay out of prison. I never wanted to go there or jail. Yeah, anything. You can bitch about all you want. I like that I can just say, like, if right now I'm like, hey, you know what? Stream is over. I'm going to shoot on over to 7-Eleven and buy myself a Mountain Dew. I have no restrictions.
Yeah.
All right. I have there's no bars. There's no security guard that's going to go, you can't leave. Well, why can't I? Well, remember that judge you saw? And it's funny. My daughter, she wants to be a lawyer. And she's already said, like, I cannot be a defense attorney. I don't want to defend. I'm like, your job is not to defend. Your job as a defense lawyer, and I understand her, and I'm actually very proud that she wouldn't, because they make a lot of money.
Right.
I go, your job is to present the evidence so they get a fair trial. Now we know that's not how they all work, OJ.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if that's what you do, your job is to present the evidence and put doubt in it. You know, but I don't know how you sleep with yourself. I don't. But hey, to each their own. And you know, we talked about some things earlier that, like, I just can't get by. And you actually mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Yeah. There's lines that you just, once it's crossed, that's it. You know, you lost everything from me. But it's like I said, that's one thing that you have to get used to. So I was there during the pandemic as well. So that's one of those things where, you know, all these people getting time off and they're like, oh no, we were working 12s. We're working 412s. And it's one of those where we had at one point, the facility I was at was completely at 100% infection for the inmates. And so we're doing the PPE with the mask and the face and the guard and the, the scrubs and gloves and everything. You had to just completely, every round you made, you had to gear up. Not fun. But so I went from that high security prison and just who was it? Just Jeff. I went to youth. So I end up working with, it was a program that was for 15 to 24. And it was one of those saying, well, if they committed their crime at a certain age, under 18, that they were going to say, okay, well, we're going to give you 30 years for this murder. Or you can come to this program. We'll do 4 years. You can get your education, and then you only get 4 years. But if you screw up, then you got to go do your 30 years in big boy prison. And that was kind of that incentive to do better and to try. But some of them to where it sucks, because now even now I see them on the police blotter where the ones that got through the system are now back in, getting arrested and all that. But it was a little bit of an incentive. But yeah, working with the younger ones, talk about a complete mess of disrespect, dude. It's like the older guys that are doing life, they want to be comfortable. They want to be in the pods that allow you to have more rec time, thicker mattresses. They want to do all that stuff. So they do well based on the fact that they just want to live comfortably. When you go to the younger ones, they got to make a name for themselves. They got to try to be tough. They got to, they're young, disrespectful little assholes. And that, it's a night and day difference. And I would say that working in the adult prison was way better than the youth.
Wow. I would not have thought of that. I think a lot of that has to, at least the one that I go through, most of those people are very large men. Like,
that work there?
Yes. Kids are not, I can't imagine kids ever, mostly you don't see kids normally that big. But again, what you just said, I never really thought of it from that side. And I'm there to fix their copy machine. So I chat with the guards a little bit as we're walking through there. And I see things from my point of view. That's kind of what you're at, what I'm asking about. But just seeing Jeff's, comments. Now I want to have a Thursday with a friend with Jeff, because now I'm just really interested, because he seems to have, I love this type. I love stories. I always tell people I don't like autographs. I'm not an autograph seeker. I like stories. And that's part of the reason why I enjoy doing this. But yeah, to hear your side and hear why you feel like that, it's actually pretty logical.
Yeah.
Well, there's people that have they're in there for life. It's like, I'm not going anywhere, so I might as well make this the best that I can.
Yeah.
The kids are like, I'm getting out of here soon, but
I'm not going to be no punk and blah blah blah. And they want to try to they're all going to try to join a gang if they're not in one yet. But 9 times out of 10, their dad's a gangster, their uncle's a gangster, grandpa's a gangster, everybody's a gangster, and they got to show face, and they can't be a punk in there, because even going to that facility, you're automatically already saying, well, you're not really in prison, because you're doing a program. You're in this little pussy prison. It's not really that big a deal. So it really did. And then, of course, if they needed help, there was a high psych prison that was like 5 blocks away that we worked sometimes if they were understaffed. And then because then you got guys that are, there was a guy that was in there because he was inside porta potties, and he would go underneath there, and he would lay there and take pictures, and he would get, whatever. So, there's a lot of crazy people that are in that one. And then there was a female prison. And like he said, there's females another level too. It's true. Manipulation is crazy in the female prison.
Wow. Man, we got to have a talk, man. I don't know. Not that I'd want to have you on just to only talk this, but now I'm this is what's funny is reservations are federal institutions, as most are. If you're a 13-year-old decides to punch you, that's assault. Your 3-month vacation has now turned into something else. No, dude, don't be sorry. you're adding something to the conversation. Like that's, dude, don't ever be sorry for adding to the conversation.
And
I have enough yahoos in here that don't add anything.
But it resonates because that feeling you get like when you're in there and there's situations like there was I mean I was in there when a guy was murdered by his cellmate two different times. There was this guy got killed by his cellie. There was one I worked where the kid, it was on graveyard, so I missed it. I was there the next day, but they got some fentanyl in there and he overdosed and he died, and they were moving him from bed to bed and covering him up. And so when the night shift had a couple of younger rookies, they didn't really go check. And yeah, he was gone, man. So it's crazy. It's not the spot. Let's just say.
Yeah, it's just Jeff says, this is common. Oh, look, another corrections officer. We're friends. We need to talk. Hey, I'm a skateboarder, and you find another skateboarder somewhere that's not like skateboarding, is like you're going to talk about skateboarding. Yeah. Obviously not if you're at a skate park. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And Viper Scout has joined us. Okay, so you I know you discussed with me before about during this you had an injury.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, so I've always kind of had something. I've always had a little bit of a backache. I've always had like little issues with my back, but yeah, it was a use of force on a guy. Coke. The worst part is the position I was in when it happened. I was working in basically it's the last 2 months of being in this facility. You go to this place, the building 26, which is where we take you out into the community. We get you ready. We get you an ID. We get you try to set you up with a job. We try to get you to where you can hit the ground running. They even pay for like some furniture when they get them out. So they really try to help them out. And the guy was like in had like not even a week left. And in those facilities, it's kind of close to the community where if somebody just has a friend throw a ball over the fence that has drugs in it, they can get them in there, And so, or have them throw them in at night. And then when they go to because they try to give them a little more trust because they're getting out. They're almost out. And so this guy was high as a freaking kite. And I woke up in the morning and he was stumbling around. I'm like, dude, what? And we ordered, of course, we had to get a urine test on him. Well, he lost his mind because he knew he was in trouble. He knew he had screwed up. Well, that turned into this big old thing where, yeah, we got everybody ready, but he was just acting a fool. And during the whole scrum and scenario that went down, something happened and it like my back just tweaked and it locked. I felt a jolt all the way up my back, my spine. Everything was just like, what just happened? And of course, after getting an MRI, it ended up being to where now, yeah, I've got the two lower discs at the bottom are herniated where 2 of them have tears in them. And there's really not any fluid in those, no cushion in those discs. And then the 2 discs above are headed in that direction. But basically it's one of those to where sciatica, it's L4, L5, L5, S1, and then the 2 above aren't as bad, but they're bad. And so that basically got to a point where in the scenarios that of course I was forced cell. I was cell extraction certified, we had tasers, we had OC, that was some of the stuff, but like all the stuff that we needed, I couldn't be around the inmates in the condition that I was. And unfortunately it was one of those, after 8 years working there, I ended up having to leave just based on the fact that I was not going to be able to do it anymore the way my back was. So.
And I've talked about this numerous times. My ex, my kid's mother, she's had 4 back surgeries.
Oof.
4 separate ones. So not like, wow. She's had a lot of health issues. So I've watched people with back injuries. I can say I understand what people go through. I don't know what it is because she lives in complete pain
all the time.
And as soon as you said L5S1, I remember that from the first time sitting in the surgeon's office and him explaining what it is, and then all the other times we were still together at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't envy. I don't wish that on like my worst enemy.
No, that's. I've said that many times. It's like I would never.
Wish other things and worse things.
Yeah. Depends on what they did, you know.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, I don't really like saying that because that some people
you don't want it to come back around, you
know. So like as soon as you mention that, it's like I know, and I'm sure people know, but it's like, man, I know the pain that it leads to people.
Yeah.
And have you had back surgery?
So I've had like the injections, and I've had the like where they go in and, you know, with the steroids or with, you know, the blocks, the facet blocks, and but as far as the surgery goes, I was going through the process trying to get everything done, but the state, well, they're represented by the attorney general, like the state's attorney. I mean, so their representation is a little bit stronger than maybe just a standard job. And they got a guy that they picked out to do another a second opinion on it. And he said, I think it'll be okay without the surgery. So of course they denied it. And I was going through this whole process, and that's why it drug on for so long, because then I got a lawyer and tried to get it going. And turns out, yeah, so I am still not. But here's the other thing. How many times, like your ex, how many times does somebody have it? It's such a crapshoot. The back, I mean, you're literally just lining with nerves all the time. And you can, like, I can have a day where, like today, it wasn't as bad as yesterday or day before. But there's days where like my whole foot just goes numb and my leg is just throbbing. I mean, and it'll go for like last month, that was a full week and a half of that. And I have a traction table. Of course, there's ice and heat and medication and all this other stuff. But the hardest part for me is being a creative person. It kills me where I have so many ideas and I want to do so many things, but how cute. But when you're in pain, it kills everything. Like I have so many ideas and I have so many things I want to do, and I have so many files that I want to print and paint and get it all done. But sometimes it takes, like, you'll see, like, I'll make 2 or 3 things and then you'll see me not make anything for a while. Or same thing with YouTube videos. I'll make 5 or 6 videos and then I'll drop off again, because it's so inconsistent with just the way I feel, and it really sucks. Steroids.
So I see this, and all I can think of is in the movie Thor, where the doctor is talking to him, and they're like, well, how do you explain what he did? Steroids! He's kind of a health nut. Like,
see, and I think of Running Man, you know, where the steroids make you deaf.
No, but like what you're saying, like my ex, her leg is permanently sore, or not sore, permanently numb.
Yeah.
So she lives with it and deals with it. So I'm like, if you hit it, it's not a big deal. It's when people graze it. So I know like the dog would just graze it and she'd freak out, or the kids at the time, they just graze it, and she's lived with it for at least 10 years, and there's nothing they can do. There's nerve damage, and so like when you said about like some days your leg is numb, it's like I know what you're going through, but I don't know what you're going through, but I know all the feelings of it.
If you have the pain or you live with someone that's had the pain, you understand.
Yeah, and I'll never say
basically what it comes down to. Or you, yeah. So,
yeah, but I understand like what you're going. Like I understand what you're telling me better than someone who's just hearing it. But like to see a person that is dealing with it day in and day out, it's just awful.
We're the best liars you'll ever meet, because I try my best to have to where now, yeah, you hear about it, but I go through my life trying to put on a face that I don't ever want anybody to feel sorry for me. I hate pity. I hate bullshit like that. I'm to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to push through. I got a son to raise. I have things to do. And granted, yes, it's depressing when I'm, my house the same way. I'm a single parent and my house shows when I'm in pain. Like it's tough. It's hard to get things done when you're hurting like that. But at the same time, it's one of those to where I will make sure everything is taken care of. I'll get the laundry done. I'll get the dishes taken care of. I'll do all that stuff. Dishes are actually the hardest thing for me. Standing over, you lean just that little bit, and it kills me.
You thought about that?
Yeah, it's crazy. Dishes, yeah, number one. It's weird, but you just do it. You just do it, and you put on a face, and you try to stay positive. I always try to stay as positive as I can.
Yeah, and that one of the biggest things is people don't realize someone's pain threshold.
Yeah.
Especially when you live with it and all you do is mask it day in and day out.
Yeah.
And again, I don't wish that on anyone that I know, that I dislike. It's just, and again, I could do a 3-hour stream talking about my ex's health issues that she has.
Well, my ex just finally had, not finally, but my ex just finally, don't say finally, my ex just dealt with back pain, and an old coworker that I used to work in sales called me after they had some, not to the extreme that I'm at right now, but even just a pinched nerve, or even just something where you had something going on. And those are the ones when they call you and they say, "Hey, my bad." Like they never talk bad about it or anything, but they always say, if I was in a bad mood for some reason or whatever, and they're like, "Yeah, I understand your back hurts, but come on." But it's like, no, you don't understand. No, when they feel it, they're like, "Dude, I'm sorry. Like, this sucks."
So you'll understand this one after I read this. John Battle says, my wife has the same kind of pain issue in her arms and is triggered by touching her hand. It does take its toll on the family.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely does. So all right. So my this was I think after her first back surgery. I just happened to come home and Andrew was just born. He was a baby, and she's like bouncing him on her knee, and she sneezed, and she's like, "Take him, take him, take him." And I grab him, and her back started hurting. And as the day moves on, like she's kind of like limping, and she's walking on like to the side, and she goes, and then she's looking like in the mirror, and she's like, "Do I look?" She's like, "Do I look like offset?" And I look at her and I go, "Your back is crooked." And I go, I could like literally go up just like this, see the because there was 3 vertebrae, and then it went back straight up.
Oh my gosh.
We go to the doctor and they said these are back spasms. I would always hear about athletes, especially hockey players, having back spasms and they can't play. Mm-hmm. And I always be like, I get back spasms. I get muscle spasms. What do you mean you can't play through that? I didn't realize what they meant.
I always thought of Larry Bird the same way. Larry Bird.
Yeah. and when the doctor said, imagine these muscles are pulling this way and these muscles are pulling that way. And that's when I went, oh, that's what back spasm means.
And everything is lined with nerves. That's it.
Yes. That's
like the nerves is what you think about that a lot of people don't understand. When they talk about doing surgery or they're doing different procedures, I mean, it is nothing but layers of nerves, and it's ridiculous.
And Hollison says, I got to find out if my wife's back hurts because she never lets me touch her either.
That's funny. But you know what? Honestly, that's another sad part of it. Think about it. Think about the motion of that. Like, dude, how horrible it is to just know that you have to prepare because you're going to be in pain for a couple of days after that. And it sucks so bad.
Yeah. Before we had split up, there were lots of times we'd go for a long time without sex. Yeah. And at least for me, I could never be mad at her when she's like, do you not realize how bad my back? What am I supposed to say? Like, I can't be mad.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, you know what? And I was there with her through so it's not like I can say like, oh, you're just faking it. Like, dude, I watched everything you went through. I can see the scar on your back that's now this long because of the multiple surgeries that you've gone through. And it sucked because, you know what? You want to fool around and have fun with your, the person you're with. But at the same time, and I know a lot of people that have told me, women too, that it's like, they're just like, yeah, my husband doesn't understand, and it's like I guess maybe I'm just more considerate, and I think like, what if that was me?
Well,
But
but
God
see,
knows.
and that's kind of how I feel with the way that my life is going now. My grandma, my mom, my family members. When are you gonna find a girl? I say, you know what? I would not want to bring anyone into this mess that I'm in. I'm sorry. I'm good. I don't really want to deal with that.
Wait, so, no, where there's a
There's a
will, there's
wheel. There's a
a
way.
way.
Yeah.
um,
I was waiting for somebody in the chat. What about that mouth? I don't know. Saying
not saying I never thought that either, right?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
you just said.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's happening about that? Like, is there anything, or is this just how you have to live now?
Yeah, I mean, unless eventually, if there's something better that comes out that we're able to figure out. I mean, we're trying to go to Mars, for God's sakes. Can we just please figure something out? Fixing a back. Just disappointed.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
But
that really goes far with a woman. All right?
yeah,
You're never getting laid again.
that's like calm down, right?
Like, yeah, you're never getting laid again with using that one.
Oh man,
I'm
not angry.
Yeah,
Just let me down.
So is there a possibility to get surgery, or do you not have insurance?
Right now, I don't. There is, what's crazy is what I was thinking that might end up, if I end up going that route, which I hate. This is not who I am, Larry. I'm telling you, this is not my style. But the guy that was going to operate on me that said, yes, I know what's going on. I've read all your files. I think I read your x-rays and your MRIs and all that. I think I can help you. So this particular place where he works does accept Medicaid. And the way that my situation is, I could jump over and get on Medicaid and say, hey, can we get this taken care of now? I hate to even think about that because I like to earn what I got. You know what I'm saying? But there is a point to where I'm saying, well, if I can fix this, then get back into the workplace and just, I don't know.
But it's there for you to use if you need it.
Yeah.
You lost your job because you couldn't do that, and it was all because of what happened there at work.
Yeah. And they figured a way to sneak out of getting anything, and they just said, okay, we're settling out, and that's done. So now I'm completely off of that, where now I'm kind of on my own.
Look at that. I mean, it's almost like I'm Francie Brady here. Do it. That's why it's there when you need it. Like, dude, I'm not even joking. Like,
no. I don't want to, I don't know. The freeloader thing, I've always had that thought process of like, and maybe not, but you almost kind of have that a little bit of like.
So I was just talking, I just had someone on here and has never been married. And I asked, and he said, I really don't want to get into it, and I know exactly why. My ex and I were never married. You guys can put two and two together. We have kids, like it's there. And if you can use it, then use it. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're a freeloader. I mean, there's a big difference between people that take advantage of the situation and people that use it because that's what it's there for. Yeah. So I wouldn't, honestly, for you, if you think that it would actually help.
Yeah, I honestly think there's really nothing else I can do at this point. I've done acupuncture. I've done, even, what worked for a little while, which is funny, is cryotherapy. I stood inside of that jar for, 3 minutes and it got to negative 215 degrees and something happens to where your blood flow gets kind of screwy. Yeah. And that actually did take a little bit of that away temporary. It's all temporary. But, I think honestly, I am kind of getting to that point where I almost need to, because even if I say, well, I'm artistic, I could make things and sell them and I can make money on that. But when I'm in pain, I don't want to do any of it. And it's hard. And I need to get, at least if I could take half of that pain away, I would be a pretty happy person. You know what I'm saying?
44D2 says the same thing. You pay taxes, you pay. Look at all these Democrats I have watching. I'm just kidding. All right. Just kidding.
Thanks for joining. Good night. No.
Couldn't help myself. That's not how I feel. Again, that's not, like I said, it's there. I mean, dude, you're not a freeloader. Again, you know who the freeloaders are. For instance, I'm out bastard. There goes.
Remember that time Punk had a channel? No, I'm joking.
Remember when you were Mr. 5K? Now you're just over 1,000. All those Democrats jumped out of it.
Oh God, Wade's got the comment of the day there.
Wade says, "Excuse me, sir, I'm a communist. Please don't insult me by calling me a Democrat."
Oh man.
All right, so, well, once you get the back surgery, then you'll feel better. Again, and that's one of those things where you have to make decisions.
And it's not a guarantee. I mean, I could go through, have the surgery, and then be right back in the same place. But at least if I give it a try, it's worth it,
Yeah. When you get to the point, like my ex, she was supposed to have, there's 3 different occasions she was supposed to have a cage put in. Every time before it happened, something happened. Once there was issues with red tape holding it up. Another one was she had to have an emergency back surgery, and the disc slipped into her spinal cord. So that's why she was having headaches. And had we waited a little bit longer, if it would have completely severed it, she'd be paralyzed or dead.
Yeah.
So there was like 3 different times, and she's like, I'm eventually going to need one. But the doctors have always been, we'll do this if you absolutely need it, but you're young.
And try not to until you have to.
Yeah. And so she's like, that's 3 times, so I'm going to wait as long as I can.
Yeah. And see, for me, I always have that thought in the back of my head, not just from the whole get rid of the pride thing, Linzati. That's my big thing. Get rid of my pride. But the biggest thing for me is that, you think about all these roadblocks, and I'm like, well, maybe maybe they're there for a reason. You start to second guess things, and you're like, well, maybe I shouldn't do it. But I'm getting to that point where now there's just so many days of just, you would just don't understand how much it weighs on you, to the point where it's exhausting. Your body is fighting pain all day. You have no endorphins. You have nothing to keep you to where, people want to, oh man, you know how long it's been since I've actually been out, and I missed the Nuggets parade after the championship. I've missed countless times where somebody's invited me to a Bronco game. Free of charge. And I just didn't I think of, oh God, driving 2.5 hours, getting out, walking into the stadium, going up the stairs, sitting in the seat, or my recliner. I mean, that's just,
you're that far away from Denver.
2.5 hours.
That's long for someone who's not in pain.
Yeah, even in that car drive. Yeah. And Johnny, you're right, dude. I agree. And I'm not very prideful in certain things, but it comes to earning my keep and earning my way through life, I really try to be someone that earns my way. And I think that is my little thing that I need to work on.
Sure. Matthew says, getting cut on is a last resort. Good physical therapy can help a lot, either to prevent surgery or confirm that it's necessary. There's a lot of chronic pain, both that people don't understand. Matthew's a doctor and does this.
Yeah.
Like, this is specifically what he does. So he'll yell at me about certain things, like my shoulder, but
when we talk about it, it starts to hurt,
Yeah. I'm always moving around. If you guys haven't noticed, I never realized how much I talked with my hands. So I was out with a friend, and she was like, "I can't believe you haven't hit all your steps during this conversation with how much you talk with your hands." I'm like, I don't talk with my hands. And then you start noticing it, and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Wade says, you need DDP yoga. I'll say you need to fast. I love fasting. Like, when I do it, I haven't done it in a while. You've made so much changes with your body because you have so much shit in your body that you don't realize.
I did fasting a lot. Yeah.
It made me earmuffs. It made me more regular.
Yeah.
Going to the bathroom.
Yeah, I have no gallbladder, so yeah, I have.
Oh wow. Yeah, I started doing it honestly so I could lower my blood pressure, see if it worked. But when I started reading and when I started watching everything that fasting does, it put me into this where I wanted to do it. And I was actually telling Mr. Wonderful, Travis, because he wanted to do like 24 hours. He was doing like 12 hours. And I'm like, you need to like do like 24, 36, whatever. I go, you know what really makes me get through it? If anyone wants to do fast, this is what you do. You watch a bunch of videos on it. And then when you get to a point, let's say you're at like 16 hours, and you're like, oh, I'm ready to eat, watch the video again. Because they'll tell you what stage you're in at 16 hours, and you're like, well, shit, I can go to 24, right?
Yeah.
It's no big deal. That's what it totally made me get through. Like every time I do like a 24-hour fast or a 30-hour fast, I'll watch the videos, and it's just like, oh, shit, you know what? I can go another few hours. It's not a big deal, right? And then I'm going to devour some pizza. But it just made me feel so much better. And then I've lost like 15 pounds. And I didn't fast to lose weight. It was just happened to be a byproduct of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I did fasting for about 2 months where I would do 4 days a week. I would do 16 hours.
Yeah.
And then literally in that time I lost about 20. And but the energy levels is crazy how you wouldn't think, but your energy levels are through the roof.
You sleep better, which is odd. Like, but my blood pressure did go down. It's regulated now. I'm on blood pressure medicine, but it's even when before I started doing it, the blood pressure medicine was not controlling it to where it needed to be. But when you see like all the anti-aging stuff, but the way it's supposed to help prevent cancers, and I'm just like, they really do explain it pretty well when you watch these videos. Like cavemen fucking would go 9 days without eating.
Yep.
Like, and you're like, oh, I didn't really think about that.
Exactly.
This is not a fasting episode.
And Francie, I'm the same way. I could definitely tell when the storm is coming because my back I'm like, oh, it's coming.
Yeah, that's my ex.
Arthur does it.
Yeah, that's my ex. Like, she's like, fuck. She's like, man, it's now. I just know that it's cold and your body is like tightened up.
For us, it's the barometric pressure's changing, and a couple days beforehand, and you're like, forget it.
I know. I've talked to people, and they're like, "Do you have arthritis?" I'm like, I would assume if there was like an X-ray to show arthritis, I would be littered with it. From years of skateboarding, lifting weights, doing what I do, like, yeah, I can only imagine how much I would glow like a fucking Christmas tree. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I have it, but I don't let it bother me. Though that was another thing. Like my joints feels way better after doing all the fasting, especially my knuckles because I crack them so much. But just in general, lifting, holding stuff, it's night and day. But I don't think it's going to fix your back problem. I know my aunt said to Susan, it was after her first or second back surgery. I forget what it was. And she was like, she needed another one. And my aunt was like, have you ever tried essential oils? And I could just, oh my God, I could just see it on Susan's face. She was like, my fucking disc is blown out. Mm-hmm. I mean, no, there is not enough and there's not enough amount of essential oils that's gonna fix this. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, my ex, she really does like essential oils for headaches and stuff like that. But she's
for what you make logically what they can fix.
They don't make your back better, right? Yeah. Oh, your disc is over here and it's pushing. Yeah. Oh, have you tried this essential oil? No, I wish a doctor would have told me.
Yeah.
Oh, why don't you sniff it? Oh, well, look at that. I can feel them just moving fucking back to where it needs to go.
Or I hear like, oh, have you been to the chiropractor? Whoa. I've been to one and they looked at my chart and they said, we're not touching you. Sorry. Go on now. Get.
All right. So obviously you have back issues. So let's talk about your ex and who you have a kid with.
Yeah.
So when did you meet her and how long were you guys together?
We met, I was working at American Furniture Warehouse. I was in sales, doing furniture sales. And she came in you don't date people you work with. No, she came in and she worked the front. She did the front office. She's still there. She still does the front office work over there. And yeah, so we, it's one of those little flirty stuff here and there, walking in, making a sale, little look here and there. And we went on a date, and that was it. We were together for 7 years. And of course, have Merrick because of it. So
fasting is a very beneficial thing for me as a communist.
Well,
and Matthew is telling you, don't ever go see a chiropractor.
Yeah,
he hates him.
Yeah, no. It doesn't make much sense for me.
No, yeah. I have my feelings on chiropractors. I think there's benefits for them, but I think when you're dealing with something like you are, and I can tell you firsthand because my ex was seeing one before a back surgery, and then he did something, and when the surgeon did the surgery, he said, yeah, the disc was way worse when we went in than what we saw in the MRI. And that's because he fucking damaged it. So
yeah, nope.
No, all right, so you meet this girl at your work.
Yep. We hit it off. We were. It was a very, we 2 peas in a pod, man. We got along great. Of course, we worked together, which didn't seem to be a problem, for a while. But yeah, no, we got to a point where, of course, we actually ended up breaking up for about a month and a half. It was one of those to where a lot of arguments, a lot of ugliness. And I remember even one of the things that I told her during that time was it really doesn't even come down to anything else beside the fact that I don't like who I am when we're doing this. I don't like how I feel as a person when we're arguing. I feel ugly because I'm not a drama person. I don't do good with that shit. So there was just a lot of issues. And she'll admit to it. We both have, she's got a lot of stuff she's working on as well. And she stays single as well. So we're both kind of staying the same. We both kind of enjoying our privacy and our solitude. But after we got back together, of course, then she got pregnant. And then that was one of those to where I was like over the moon because I was 34 years old and I was like, I'm going to have a kid. I was so excited, and honestly, like I said, it's one of those things where the way that her and I get along, her and I are really good friends. We co-parent phenomenally. And I can say right now that it was absolutely one of the best things either way. I don't regret any of it because my son is here and that is my whole life. Like I can't even imagine my life before him because it's just so much more fulfilled now with him in it. So
I love the way you say. Let me ask you a question. And I remember after my son was born, and I thought this. Obviously, you went a long time in your life without having a child. Can you even remember what it was like not to know what he looks like?
Dude, no.
Doesn't it feel like you always knew what they were going to look like?
It's crazy because before all that happened, I never even thought I was ever going to have a child. Like I was like, I'm getting older, he was 35 when I was 35 when he was born. But yeah, when seeing him no, I don't. I can't.
Yeah, and you can't imagine how did I not know? I've always known what this face was going to look like.
And he is, like I said, I've been in some pretty depressing times with the way shit goes. My mind tells me something, my body tells me something else. And I argue with myself constantly about that. And I've been through death. I lost 2 of my best friends. I've been through a lot of different things in my life. And I look at it to where I've never been ever to that brink of being like, oh, I don't want to be here. But I can tell you right now, no matter how depressing or sad or whatever else, I just got to think of my boy. And nothing matters. And that's why I say you push through things. It doesn't matter other than making sure this little person that you helped make succeeds or is happy or is cared for and is loved and has everything he needs. And that's it. Like that is my existence. I am completely okay with however my life turns out. As long as that little guy's okay, I'm good.
No, and I hate people. I recently said this, And if you're one of these people in the chat, I'm sorry that you're going to get offended when I say this. But and I recently just said this again. I go, I hate when people say, "Oh, I don't have kids, but I know how you feel about yours. I love my dogs." Don't fucking compare your dogs to my kids and how you feel. Because let me explain something to you, and you'll know this. If someone walked up and put a gun in front of my kid's fucking head, I would step in front of that.
Absolutely.
If somebody did that to me, I expect that dog that you just heard whimpering to come busting in and take that bullet for me and do everything he can to save me. You know, and I'm like, it's no offense that you don't understand that type of love, but don't ever tell me you love your fucking dog or your cat, especially not your fucking cat. They're cats.
Cats don't like you.
No, cats will start eating you about 20 minutes after you fucking die.
That's right. They'll be picking at your eyeballs. That's right.
But again, there's nothing wrong with not understanding how much you can love something you created, but just don't do it. It's not even it's not even comparable. Because like I said, I love, you guys know how much I love that dog.
Yep.
But it is his job to protect me and my kids.
Yep.
It is my job to step in front of, protect my kids from anything, possible.
Yeah. Well, and even just now at 11 years old, going through the whole times of being self-conscious and being like, just unsure of himself sometimes, and just trying to, it's like certain things, like when he's feeling a certain way and you just, it eats you up inside. You want him to be happy and you want him to be successful. But of course I'm going to push him. I'm going to push him, and he's going to do things on his own. He's going to make sure, like his mom, she's kind of wrapped around his little finger. So I'm definitely the one to be the, hey, you're going to do this on your own and you're going to learn. So
well, believe me, your son is how old right now?
11.
Yeah, you'll go through points where you don't like him.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just going to tell you from firsthand experience. Tony knows. If Tony's still listening, he knows more than anyone in the chat right now, because I talk to him so much and he hears some of the stuff. He's 18 now and he knows everything. And, it's, well, you don't do this. Okay, well, you're right, I don't. But I do live in a professional world, and I have for many, many years. So I know how to adapt how certain things are.
Yeah.
But unconditionally, you're trying to make sure that he does the best that he can. And it is definitely one of those things where, yeah. And I hate to get on that, but again, this is not about toy talk. This is about the person next to me. And again, I've always hated that. And those animal people, the dog people or cat people, they're so convinced that they love their animal as much as you love your kids, and you're like, I want to fucking punch you. And you know what? If I punched you right now, you'd expect your dog to protect you.
Jump in front. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you right now, the moment I'll never, and of course, same thing. You'll be the same way. So the doctor really wanted me to learn a little bit about respect for my significant other at the time. I was holding a leg, and I saw her in pain, and I saw why. So I'm looking up and I'm seeing her in writhing pain. And then I look down and I figure out exactly why she's in pain, because my 8-pound, 10-ounce child is coming out of her, and she's all of 110 pounds. And, he's coming out. So, but it's one of those things where when he came into this world, I lost my shit. I was kind of like giggling kind of with it, but I've never cried like that before, but it was laughing while I was doing it, because it was like, but I was so overcome with so much emotion that I'm not a crier at all. And that moment was so strong. I've never felt like anything before, and I don't think I'll ever feel like that after. That moment was the moment.
No, I'm not a crier, so I didn't cry when either kid was born. And I'm not one of those people that is like, I can't believe you cried.
No, I'll say I did. I don't cry about any other shit. But.
The only times I ever cry is if I have to go to the cemetery for my mom. I can't. I don't go. I don't really need to go. It's something I can't control because this may come as a shock to many people here. I've always, whether my ex believes it or not, I've always had to be the rock for everything. Like I just don't show emotion.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with my mom passing away. When I go there, it's like I can't control myself. And because I've always been the person that has to be the rock, who has to be solid, who can't show emotion on things, I don't know how to handle showing emotion like that. And it's, it's a total mess for me. And again, I kind of envy people that can. I just don't.
Yeah.
But I will say this. There are times that I do get, like, this will make people laugh. And this was after I had kids. If you ever watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air,
mm-hmm.
when the episode where Will is going to take that go on the trip with his dad,
yep.
and Uncle Phil's trying to get him to stop,
yep.
and then he's going to run out on him, and
yep.
at the end when like Will's like, why doesn't he love me? And you like that gets me because I don't understand it.
Right.
I don't like how could you? I don't understand how you can walk out on your kids.
Right.
My
ex's daughter, she was 12 when we got together, and her dad was that dad. And I could never understand it now, to where I still get Father's Day cards from my ex's daughter. So, I mean, just, You
guys have heard me talk about my daughter that lives in California, and we just moved out there. She's not my daughter. I raised her since she was 5. She's never met her dad. When her mom and I split up, she took her mom's side. When I raised her for, at that point, 12, 13 years of her life.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, when she's ready to come back, if she doesn't have to say she's sorry, she doesn't have to apologize, nothing. Just, I want her back in my life.
Yeah.
And as my ex and I started getting along better, and, they'd come over for Christmas or whatever, and she would come over. She started being, and then she realized, like, I was never going to treat her different.
Right.
Like, she's my daughter. And, we recently had that talk after she moved to California. And I was telling her, I go, you never had to say you were sorry. I understand why you did. Your mom said a lot of mean things, and it was you and your mom for 5 years, and in some ways, you're probably thinking I'm not your dad, but she's like, she goes, you're my dad. She doesn't always say but she'll refer to me as her dad. She calls me by my first name more often than I'd like her to. But she never did that when we were together. It was after that. And so, it's one of those things where, and this is where the hypocrisy comes, where I say, like, don't say you love your dog or your animal more than your kids, because when you burst something, when you help create something, but I would do that for Emily too. Like, I would step in me, if someone was going to hurt her at the same time, I'd expect this fucker to come hauling in out of nowhere and, rip them apart, because that's what pit bulls do, right? They're evil dogs. Wow, we really went down a road I didn't expect to.
There you go. Well, but it's. I mean, I didn't know that about you. So I mean, that I obviously that's one of those things where that's why this is so cool, because you get to know somebody at a deeper level. We know what we like to collect. We understand. We've been in the clubhouse. We talk about what we like, and we roll our eyes at some stuff that's stuff we don't really like too much. But we're people behind all that stuff.
No, and again, I don't know, like, the whole reason why I started this show, if anyone's listening, whatever, was because how many times are you in someone's chat, and especially bigger one, Geek Dad Life, Toy Anxiety, right? Just 300-400 people. How many times are you looking at someone thinking, what is their story? Like, what, and if I'm thinking it, other people are thinking the same thing too, right? Who is Thanos Copter, man? Like, I would see him all the time. Who is highly articulated? Like, you'd see all these people, and you'd always wonder, like, who are they? And that was the whole thing. And Matthew can attest to this. When I first started this, there were so many people that jump in and ask about, hey, oh my God, what do you think about this joke? Like, and Matthew would be like, hey, that's not what the show was about. And it was great because it didn't mean I had to stop the show. He was able to, just kind of Quan, there was one guy, I remember, he said, "Oh yeah, that's Quan out here," like not in a mean way, not in a mean way, just like, "Oh well, I didn't realize that's what this is. I don't really care. I'm out of here. I'll be back on Monday or whatever." But yeah, so for me, this was just, I wanted to get to know people, and as more and more people realized what the show was, we don't get that nearly as much.
Yeah. Punk Donahue.
Punk Donahue.
Yeah, I get one of those big white wigs next time. Punk has no feelings. No, I get that all the time. My ex and I had a lot of problems because she's like, "You're dead inside, and why don't you have any feelings with things?" And the doctor, we even went to when we were talking to my doctor, and we even kind of had a little thing, and she just mentioned it out loud, and the doctor says, "Okay, think about this. He's got back issues for how long? He's been numbing himself. So we've been on pain medication. I ain't be honest with you. So pain medication has been numbing this part of your brain that numbs your back, that helps take away your back pain." He goes, "And right here is your emotions. You're numbing all of that." He goes, "Some people never get it back. Some people get it back in time. And some, but maybe that's I didn't really think about it till he told me that, but yeah, my kids saw me cry twice. When we found my dog across the neighbor's yard up against the wall, when the pit bull pulled her through and killed her, and when my ex's grandpa passed away. And that was it. The only time my son saw me shed a tear at all. Otherwise, I'm like, eh.
No, and people are different, and I try to be different with my kids. I tell them I love them. My dad and I never tell each other we love each other. I can't remember the last time my dad said it to me, but I also don't need it because I know he does.
That's the same way with mine too. Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
he does things, and I don't need to hear. So like, never once am I like, oh my god, my dad never, like, I don't need. I know he does. It's not something I need to hear from him. Yeah. But at the same time, it was something that I wanted to make sure that I always said to my kids
every day. I tell
my son used to, but now he stopped. My daughter, I mean, we got
too cool for that now. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still tell him, and that's because it's something that I need to say.
Yeah. Same here. I always, every morning, every night, in between. Yeah. I tell them.
My daughter, she, before we get off the phone and before we go to bed, always.
Mm-hmm.
And but I mean, each person is going to be different, and like I said, I don't need to hear it from my dad because I already know he does, because of the actions that he has shown.
They grew up in a different time.
Yeah,
and that's what we have to kind of come to grips with a lot of times. Like, my mom always gives him crap about that too. She says almost the same thing my ex told me. You don't have any emotion at all. But he's a provider. That's what they did. They show how much they love you by providing for you and giving you what you need and that stuff. That's how it was back then.
And I actually, after my ex and I had split up, I dated a girl for a bit, and I'd say, Susan always say I have no emotion, and she, this girl that I was dating, she goes, "It's not that you have no emotion." She goes, "You're just not emotional."
Right.
You are very passionate about things you care about and people you care about. You just don't show a lot of emotion for things that don't really matter. Yes. But you're very passionate about things. You're just not emotional. You don't cry.
And I hate to say that, but I always tell my ex that when we would get in arguments, I go, "What do you want? Some weeping little pussy?" That's what I always told her. I go, "What do you want? Like, you're going to get sick of that. You want me to be a little crybaby about things and whine and complain and be all mushy and be like, 'Oh, I love you, and come here.' No, that's not me, and it never will be. But I guarantee you, every woman that says they want somebody that's more emotional like that, if they had that, they'd be like, 'I'm out.' Be a man. Be a man, So it's a catch-22.
You're absolutely right. I love that you can point to things out, but then you're wrong about it.
Oh yeah.
That's not what I want.
But I know it got through at least. She understood it. I might have been wrong at that moment, but she thought about it. That's all I need.
It's the analogy of sports. When you have a hard-nosed coach and he gets fired because they're not performing, mm-hmm. then they hire a
Hackett. No.
What do they call it?
Give them their own office and
a player's coach.
Yeah,
and it's going to be real nice to them and everything. And then when he doesn't work, they fire him and they hire another That's what women are like.
Yeah, you gotta try to jump on both sides, and that's once you master that, you'll be good. I have not done that, hence why I'm single.
No man has mastered the woman. Right? I don't care not.
Some get better at it than others, maybe. I guess
some are better, but let's be honest. If anyone's like, I've met, like, no, you've either found a woman that has
she's trained you to think that you've mastered it.
Yeah, if you have a woman that is everything for you, you have just found a woman that has the worst self-esteem ever, and you've just beat her down even more.
Yeah.
All right. Other than that, they're gonna beat us down.
Yeah. Yeah.
When a woman says, like, a woman's life expectancy is longer than a man, it's like, exactly, you know why that is, right? It's not because we're super happy with you.
There's a reason.
So
good reasons too. Yeah. And it's not because of the ladders that we tried. No, I'm joking. You see those videos and they say why women last longer than men because a guy's got a ladder and he puts it on, like, something uneven and whatever.
All right. Here's a funny story. So we had some storms here just a couple months ago. And it actually ripped one of the shutters off my daughter's window. It's just cosmetic, right? But it's not the second store. So I got it, and next year I'll have to go back up and clean everything up and put it back up there, right? Mm-hmm. So I was talking to a client, and she was like, just be safe. Just know that like 10% of home deaths are caused by ladder falls. And I was like, and the girl next to her, who was probably a little bit younger than me, this lady's probably like 10 years older than me. The girl next to me, maybe 10 years younger than me. She's sitting in the like at the desk next to her, and she was like, "No, I don't mean it bad." I'm like, and the girl was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe she." So then I go to this ice arena to work on the copy machine, and I'm listening to this younger girl. She's like in her 20s, and she starts talking about how someone was saying how like what the percentages of people that die that live alone, and and I was like, hold on, let me tell you about this one. And she was like,
oh my God.
But yeah, so I'll try not to fall off the ladder or anything like that. Yeah. But yeah, this is yeah. So I love this. Like, I can talk about this shit all the time. For me, I talk toys so much. Monday night is all toys. Saturday night, when I'm on, it's all toys. All the reviews that I do, it's toys. I'm watching stuff. I'm doing my show. That's why I enjoy this stuff, because, again, we'll get the toys normally, but just getting to know who you are and knowing that there's other things that we can talk. That's what Tony and I talk about. It's like we talk to each other all the time, but we talk about each other's families and other shit that's going on in life.
Yeah.
But let's get into your collecting.
It's everywhere. Help.
Look at that. Yeah, Eternia there.
Yeah, I see. And this was the first I decided to go on the other side of the desk with my painting there. But yeah, usually I've got Eternia normally behind me. So. But.
All right. So you said you got back into collecting in 2019 when the Origins came out.
Yeah.
Now, was that really it? I mean, were you collecting anything up to that?
No. I mean, it literally was like I saw the molten rocks coming out on one of the figures, and I was like, "Oh, this again! It's back!" And that really was it. Like, I remember seeing that on Wave 1 at Walmart, and that was the moment where I was like, "Okay, I'm in trouble." So yeah, that's where it started, and oh my gosh. It's this very, very rapidly expanding. I don't know. It's tough to think, because like I went to Ross today and I got 2 McFarlanes and a Star Wars and what else did I get? Oh, that Dune thing. I don't know if that's McFarlane, but I got a Christopher Walken, for God's sakes.
Pop Blender says Kenzo sounds like every normal, everyday American man I've ever met. Aaron just doesn't take no shit, has problems, but compartmentalizes it. Them like a man does. I could have a beer with.
All right.
Are you trying to say you can't talk with me because I don't have a beer? Kenzo doesn't drink either.
I'll have one. I don't shun it off. I just don't drink that often. You know?
So I think it's funny what you said about the Motu. I think Olivia's doing homework. So I was collecting the classified, and if you remember, there was no classified. Like it just was. So I was going in and out, and I would tell her like when we go in there, I'm like, and I would look at it's a He-Man, Skeletor, and see Battle Cat. And I said, if I ever see He-Man, Skeletor, Battle Cat, and Panther, I'll buy them. But I'm not going to buy it till then because I already knew where it was going to lead me.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I found all 4 of them at the same store. And that was the prerequisite. It had to be all 4. And I hadn't found any Joes in forever. And then I bought them. And the next thing I know, and at this point, I had walked by the I had gone to Walmart and I'd seen it numerous times. All that first wave that no one could find. Man at Arms, Trap Jaw, was it Tila? But like that whole
the early couple waves, were
that I walked by those numerous times, multiple ones.
Yeah,
because I'm like, I'm not gonna get into this. And then finally I went down it, and
and then you just got rid of all of them again. Well, and I kind of forgot and I left out because I know we're still talking about toys, but like I kind of left out that whole portion of like when I was doing the customs and I was like, I had done all of these different customs and every single custom I've ever made in the sports realm is gone. Yeah. I have none of them available. They're gone because everybody bought them all. Like I made it, sold it.
When did you start doing? Did you start doing that before?
Yeah, 13.
All right, so let's go back to that. Yeah. You do a lot of 3D printing.
Yeah.
All right. When did you start 3D printing?
So what happened was when I started doing the sports, I would buy the McFarlane figures, the football guys.
Yep.
And I would Frankenstein those, and I would repaint them, redecal them, and all that. Well, there was a guy that I was in a group with that was 3D printing, or not a 3D printing. It was a sports customizers group on Facebook. And one of the guys was in Canada and he did a lot of hockey, of course, but he was just starting into the 3D printing. So I started doing the 3D printing, I believe in 17 or 18. And of course, what that was doing was I was getting into the better helmets. I was getting into the more concussion protocol helmets, like all the new stuff to where it was more accurate. But like at that point, I was already making them for the pros. I was making basketball ones for basketball guys. I was getting tickets to Nugget games. I was getting tickets to the Bronco games. I actually got interviews from 2 different news channels. One actually from Denver came down and did an interview with me. And then, so I was on Channel 4 in Denver, and then I was on our local channel, NBC down here. And like, that was just so much fun. It was such an adrenaline rush because I was making these things and it was appreciated so much. And all these pros wanted the figures of themselves, or their wives would buy commission stuff for them. And
how do they find out about you?
Just through Instagram. I mean, it was all word of mouth. I mean, I wasn't doing anything besides posting the stuff there and making sales, and in groups, some of the sports groups, I would do stuff. And I still have if I ever made something, it's gone. The reputation is still there with the sports stuff. So I love that part of it.
So were you one of the early people that got on Instagram? Because I remember
I guess Facebook started it. I don't know if I was on Instagram like in 2009. I think it was just with it was one of my exes was on it, and I started on there. Hell, I was, I was on MySpace for a while, had the cool music and everything, but I started on, and I put some on eBay, and I sold some. People in Germany are buying figures from me, and like I had a bunch of different just random places that you wouldn't think they were buying them. But like, of course, then the Broncos went to the Super Bowl in 13 and they lost to the Seahawks, but then we went in 16, and like that was huge in sales. Like people just, bandwagon fans just wanted those figures. But that part, and then of course, all of a sudden everything just kind of like, the decal part of it, they're so small and my hands are, it's just very difficult to get, and then the toys came and I says, okay, now I want to start doing those. And then of course the 3D printing stuff is there. And I still have so many bins of parts that I just haven't got to yet because, everything with my back, and it just, you do what you can, but man, now I'm up to, so I have 2 Saturns, 2 Mars, and a Jupiter. Those are all my printers. So I got 5 printers, 1 with a really big one, and then 2 mid-size, and then 2 small.
Okay.
So, but it's, man, talk about next level, being able to make collecting more fun with little things like shields and heads and like guns and things like that. All the different things you can actually produce and just make the collecting part. It's just so much more fun knowing that you can modify things in a different level,
So I'm not saying you need to name drop, but are there any athletes that you can talk about that actually purchased their likeness of stuff you made for them?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's actually really cool.
Can for me,
or are you like,
yeah, no, I'm proud about that stuff. So, because I always get people taking pictures of, take a picture with it if you can. So one of the coolest ones, because he's such a cool guy, was Jamal Murray for the Nuggets. He had me make, and it's funny because of all things, he wanted a Funko Pop of himself, which is so off what I was doing, and I had made like 4 different ones for him, and I got tickets to 5 different games, and I got passes to go into the back to the family room, and I got to meet him, signed a bunch of stuff. I got to bring my son, got to bring my ex at the time, or my ex. My dad went, so I introduced him to my dad, my sister. So it's the coolest part. My favorite though is like I got to training camp and I made one for Terrell Davis, and my dad went with me. And knowing, like, going to these things and bringing my dad, who I was into sports because of my dad. Like my dad started me into sports when he was watching the Broncos when I was a little kid. So that was my thing. And so like for me to be able to bring him to training camp and to bring him to meet these players like Dennis Smith, Steve Atwater, Carl Mecklenburg, like all the former players. Doma Peko was one of the coolest ones. He actually gave me a signed football by the whole team and his game-worn shoes, his cleats, size 18, big old things.
Oh my God.
But Von Miller has a couple. I made some. I mean, even Andre Reed, if you guys know Buffalo Bills, like a lot of cool players have a Kenzo, which is cool.
I think that's awesome. And again, I think that's different than name dropping. I'm like, I know so-and-so, like they reached out to you to make something of their likeness. And I think that's absolutely awesome. Because I think you told me about, one of the players' wives that reached out to you.
Yeah. Well, I had Talib's wife reach out, Aqib Talib. So I made something for Aqib.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, because they did the 2 chains. I made something with the chains because he had pulled off Crabtree's chain, and it was a whole big thing because they were getting in fights. Him and Crabtree. Crabtree was a Raider at the time. But Chris Harris Jr.'s wife reached out. But the latest one, which was really cool, and it was most like as far as an honor goes, Derek Wolfe was a player for the Broncos for almost his whole career. He ended up finishing off with the Ravens. His wife purchased a figure to put on his retirement cake. And that was so cool that they had this big party, and right there on his tiered cake was a figure that I made of him doing his little signature howl after he got a sack. So that was awesome. Like his retirement, and of course, talking to him, I was able to talk to a lot of them, and just a lot of respect. And then there was some that, can go fly a kite. Like, Manuel Sanders was kind of a jerk. CJ Anderson was a jerk. There was a few that I made things for that were supposed to, even if I say no money, give me a signed jersey or something, that just ghosted afterwards. So
it's not shocking because becoming a millionaire, especially playing a game,
doesn't
make you a good person.
No, you expect stuff for free even more. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just crazy. And again, what do we always talk about? You'll never know the good tippers, but you will know the ones that are shitty.
Yeah.
No tipping, pippin. Just if your name can rhyme with tipping, you better be a good fucking tipper. All right.
Well, and I always thought, and I always said this, that I still am friends with some of the former players. Like last weekend, I actually got up there and had lunch with Dennis Smith and his wife, and I saw Steve Atwater and all those guys. They were up for the Alumni Association. But the one thing I always thought, that I had a unique perspective where I was around people that made 75 cents a day. And then when I was making these figures, I'm around these multimillionaires. And sometimes it's funny where there's no difference between that guy and the guy that's a millionaire because they're both assholes. And then there's some guys that are in the prison system that are a hell of a lot better person than the guy that's making millions playing football. So it's crazy.
And then there's some other people in the prison in football that deserve to be in the prison system.
Right. Yeah.
OJ.
But that part of it was cool though. But afterwards, of course, then I'm starting to think. I was like, you mean to tell me I could make a Skeletor this big with a 3D printer? And
did you make that?
Yeah, this is 100% 3D printed. It's 15 inches tall.
Wow. And I've seen a lot of the stuff that you've made, but I've never seen them close up to see the different,
the color matches. I always get the color match. You know what? That's one thing I've always been proud of, is that I can color match like grandma's cooking. I don't need to worry about levels of this. I'll have to do it differently every time, but a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I can get it. So yeah, definitely.
No, that looks like it is just 100% made by Mattel, which is awesome. And again, I've seen the Modis before. Like I said, I've never seen close up, and I know most. If you're using resin, you don't really get it nearly that much, but there's almost always striations, some sort of line. And again, that's what people have to understand what 3D printing is. It is way different than mold injection. But I've seen the stuff that you're doing, and it's absolutely, it's awesome. I love seeing some of the stuff that you've been doing. I know you showed me stuff of the Terradrome that you did for.
That was cool. They fit right in there. Yeah. And he was able to, he showed me everything put on there, and it worked out great.
Just being able to design all that and everything. That is, again, for me to go out on Thingiverse and find something and, okay, I can fit this onto my 3D printer and print what I need and, break it off and cut stuff off. That's one thing. To design your own stuff.
Well, and, a lot of times for me, and I'm not going to be taking credit for a lot of this stuff. What I like to do, I like the Modis. So I like to do kind of a Frankenstein on digitally. So I will get on there and I'll get a file of this, I'll get a file of that, and I'll figure out a way to merge them together, and and that part of it makes it so much more fun. I have that Merman Modi and I have a damn She-Ra Modi with the little things coming off. So it's so much fun to be able to just modify things and kind of come up with your own version of it, So
when did you start 3D? While you were making stuff for these athletes, how did you, when did you start 3D printing stuff? Was it during that time?
During that time, yeah. Because like I said, there was a guy that I met through a group that lived in Canada, and he was talking about it, and I never knew. I didn't know how affordable they were. I didn't know really didn't know anything about it. But once he helped me a lot. He really did. He helped me so much. And after getting a little more confidence, I said, I'm going to try it. And of course I started out with a Mars 1, which is leaps and bounds compared to now, what we're doing. It was like you'd take a print this tall and it would take 10 hours or something like that. Now you're getting to the point where it's only an hour and a half or something like that. But it's come a long way. The resin is a lot cheaper. It's a lot easier to do nowadays, but yeah, I could definitely attribute my buddy in Canada to doing any of that, because I would never have known. He showed me pretty much everything, walked me through it all, which is awesome.
No, that's so cool. And you're right. 3D printers now, when you look at how much they cost, they're not that expensive. Now, to design stuff yourself is something different, but you can go to Thingiverse and find all kinds of things, and that's free stuff.
Yeah.
I know there's a few free sites, or you can go buy stuff from people.
Well, and I'm on Boojaboo, has a Patreon, and he makes so many cool heads for Motu or kits for Masters Universe that fit Origins. Like a lot of, or even Yurko. Yurko makes so many things that I own a lot of the files I haven't printed. I really want to print that Filmation attack track next. But like even the collector that I made, it's all done by Yurko, and he's just amazing artist, you know.
So Machine Man asks, is the Saturn significantly better than the Mars? Might get into it.
It's bigger. The current Mars, I think it's a 5, and the Saturn 4, they're all similar in the quality. It's just the Saturn's going to give you a bigger build plate. So if you want to, I'd say a Saturn will be better because you could print more with it in less time.
So this is what I would say. I have an Ender 3. Again, it's pretty small. My buddy, he has all kinds of stuff. The other 3D print stuff, gives me stuff to review. Greg, if you have the money and the space, that's another huge thing. You have to have the space.
Yeah.
But if you have the money and that's not really the issue, go with a bigger build plate, because something will be just too fucking big.
Yeah.
And no matter how big of a plate you get, it's always, you can get one the size of your fucking house and you would have to build something that it's not going to fucking fit.
A little bit more. Yeah.
But yeah, if you can get something that's just a little bit bigger, you have the space.
Even the Jupiter SE is only $600 or $500, and the build plate is that big. Like, it's insane. Or like when you talk about like Radnom, like he's got that bamboo, and that is printing almost as clean as a resin nowadays, and that's a filament. So those bamboo printers are insane. Like,
yeah, I didn't realize that's what his was. But I believe Greg has a bamboo, but he also has a resin. He's had issues with his resin. You know, he's had issues getting his resin to work, I think. But I know he's printed me a bunch of stuff because he's given me like a bunch of grenades and stuff, and they look like there's like nothing wrong with them at all. They're absolutely perfect.
Well, just like that ugly beast man that nobody really liked. I found a file with the different head, and after painting it, and then even this armor on it was a 3D printed armor, and it just, you can't. I mean, with the resin, it's just so good, dude. It's like you can't see any kind of issues with lines or anything like that. Resin is amazing, I gotta say, for sure.
Yeah, 44Digi says you can cut the files and make them fit the plate. You are right, but then you have to make those things fit together. And if you don't have to, it's that much better. Because there's been a few things that I've printed that I have to put together, and I'd be like, why can't I just print this all together?
Yeah. Well,
you are correct.
One thing that you can do, even if you don't have a resin printer and you have the filament, if you get a little thing of resin, like just the regular printing resin, you could use it as an adhesive a lot too. Like if you cover things up, or a lot of people use it to cover the lines, and once they get get it cured, it covers that up. A lot of times if I have to connect something, I glue it and then I'll seam it with my resin, and then I'll use the UV light, and it actually coats it really well too. So little things like that, once you learn throughout, like this, the collector up there, I had to piece together quite a bit, that blue guy up there. But yeah, so I mean, but now with my new printer, I won't have to, because it's big. He's a big one. So I'm boring him. He's starting to go to sleep, guys. He needs to get some sleep now. No, I'm just kidding.
No, again, I understand exactly what you're saying, but even like those tabs break again. I'm not, again, a lot of things are going to have to be put together, but you go to make a mask, and the mask is like, oh, it has to be cut up here, like, and it'd be easier just to do the whole fucking helmet or anything like that. If you're a cosplayer, I'm not a cosplayer, but my son wanted stuff, and I'm like, this isn't going to fit. I actually found out when I did the Skyhawk, the skids are too long. So the back of him, just when it hits it, it goes straight up, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized that that's the end of the plate.
Oh yeah.
So that's like the end of the plate, even though technically there was still a little plate to it. But that's as far over as it could go.
They
and I didn't realize that. But you can't really tell unless I told you.
You know, I brought this from up downstairs because I wanted to show it off. This is actually my favorite print that I've ever made. And it's one of the earlier ones I did as well. And it was put together, but this was definitely my number one print that I've ever done.
And by looking at it, that has as much articulation as a Super 7 Ultimate.
Which, of course, is done. But the one thing that was cool was that the inside his mouth was actually supports. And instead of taking them out, I painted them white to make them look like the spit.
Oh, dude, that is cool.
Yeah. So this was definitely one of my favorite prints I've ever done. Because I love Mum-Ra, dude.
Yeah, like supports, like people don't even realize how bad it can look. And I pointed it out on the last gridiron thing. And we're used to gridiron. If anyone has gridiron stuff, they're really good quality. So I was really disappointed in the quality of the APC. Like you can tell on the bottom that they had to use a different printer because theirs probably didn't fit the ones they are using.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that it looks awful, but it's something that you're not used to having. Right. My Skyhawk, if you look at the back of it, like it's fucking all jacked up at the back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just because that's where the supports were at. It was early on, so I didn't really experiment too much. But all in all, it looks perfectly fine for what I need it for, although it just kind of sits on my dresser now.
Most of my prints, that's all they do too.
Yeah, I don't have room for anything, unfortunately. And then people will bring it up, and I'm like, oh my God, even though I see it every single day, you start to forget that it's sitting there. But so you got to
invest in some good sandpaper. I mean, get all the different levels of sandpaper, so that way when you get those supports off, you kind of, get a good little clean, but that's, other than that, not bad.
And Wraith Mace is heading to bed. So have a good night, Wraith.
Later, Wraith.
We will talk to you soon. I know I'll see you. So, as you get into 2019, you get into your origins.
Mm-hmm.
What happened that made you branch off?
It was there. I didn't realize that Classics was there. I didn't know Classics was made. I had no idea. And when you start to join the toy groups and you start to see that and you kind of go through and you're like, oh my God. And of course it's expensive to catch up. Holy crap. And then the 2000X, there was funny is Brad Beck. I don't remember. There's a few guys that are in these Facebook groups that have a lot of the 2000X that they end up buying and selling and have a lot of, and I've collected so much from just a couple guys I've gotten a lot of my collection from. And then of course, once they started Masterverse, and then because when Revolution came out, and then I had to get all the Masterverse, and then Turtles, and then, oh God. And then even catching up with like these here, like with the specials, like with the Comic-Con things and the PowerCon, and like that 4-pack took me a while to get, or 5-pack, I'm sorry. And then even that Crystal Skeletor, that took a long time to get. So it took a while to catch up with some of them, and then Mondo, I even got some Mondo. I stopped Mondo. I got 3 different Skeletors, He-Man, She-Ra, Tila, Orko, 2 of the vinyl Scareglows, and 2 Trapjaws. And I'm done though. No more.
Man.
I can't. That was kind of when I was getting, when I was in the middle of all this stuff and I was still getting paid my standard wage I'm like, okay, I'm done now.
It's also different when you don't realize how much there is, that much stuff comes out. I was buying all the G.I. Joe stuff when I got back into it. And I bought the 230 12-inch figures.
Yeah.
I think the 3-0 figures are awesome for G.I. Joe. They're about 100. Those were $150. I think the new ones are like 175. They're well worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first off, there's more waves of G.I. Joe, obviously classified. There's some O-ring. It's like, that's just too pricey. Then you start to see the Space Saber. And you're never going to take it outside. You're never going to you're never going to do photography with it.
Mm-mm.
That becomes something that it's just, if you have a nice, wonderful stand, someplace that you can put everything, then it works. When you run out of space, there's the Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander helmets that I have up there from GameStop. They look awesome. Now they're just space killers.
Yeah.
But they look so good, I don't want to get rid of them.
Dude, that Beastman Mondo is a freaking,
dude, that thing is awesome.
Gigantic.
We
it
saw
is
that
so cool though. But
it's so big.
Yeah.
So big that it blows your mind.
But I did not bite on the cats. And I didn't bite on the Scare Glow with Scaremare. I can't, I don't have the space for the cats. Like, I couldn't do it. So
those cats are big.
God, they're cool, but no. I mean, even Eternia, like you know what's funny? It just happened. My parents just happened to get to an auction and they got one of these really heavy duty office desks that were like in a professional office.
Yeah.
And they have rollers. They can even like rack up and they're high end and it fits Eternia perfectly. And I just kind of got lucky with that Eternia. But
yeah, and that's crazy. That again, everyone that wants these really big things for classified, I'm like, I can wait because I don't have the room for it.
Yeah.
When you again have a smaller place like I do, and you have a whole room dedicated to your G.I. Joe 1/18 scale, and when you have, I don't know if you know this, I have my childhood aircraft carrier.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you the story. One day I'll tell a story about it.
Maybe 10 or 15 times.
Yeah, but you can't package, like, if you have the space, you cannot box that up and put it in a fucking corner.
No,
you don't have a flag.
That's iconic.
It's your, you played with it. You and your friends played on that thing. It's like that has to be put somewhere if you have the room.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I would collect 1/18 if I didn't have such a large collection from my childhood, and it didn't mean so much to me, right? That it's just one of those things where you're just like, dude, like, I got to have this out there. So when people are saying, oh, I want a headquarters for the HasLab, I want an aircraft carrier, like, no, you don't. I want an F-14. This is going to be 5 fucking feet long.
Yeah. Well, even even for on the Masters, when that snake thing came out and it just was, whoa, what are we doing here? Like, no, why did you guys do that and make it like that? I don't know. I was not for that snake layer the way they made it. It was just way off.
Oh yeah, you are one of the people.
Kayla. Yeah, I was one of them.
I have not seen Kayla here in quite some time. Thank you, Kayla. It's been wonderful to see you.
Yeah. I even went back and got a Crystal Castle.
Kayla says, take a drink every time Lawrence mentions he had the flag as a kid. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it before. I thought
this is the first time I'm hearing it on this stream.
And again, I did not have the flag as a kid. I have my childhood flag. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
When kids say, oh, I had it, I go, well, I have mine. Do you want to see it?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as we did when we were kids. Like, everyone always had it at their grandparents, and it's like, oh yeah, I have it. Well, I have it actually at my house. You want to go play with it?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, Kayla? Sometimes you need a break. And then
miss you too, Kayla.
I guess Kayla is now Ed's daughter.
Yeah, she's been for a while.
All right, well,
yeah.
I already have a daughter in California that I took in, so I guess Ed's doing the same thing.
Yeah, potato. Yeah.
So what are you collecting now?
Okay, so as you know, I cherry pick Joe's.
Yep.
So I got a lot of classifieds. I have. So a lot of times, I get the McFarlane from Ross. Like,
I love the sigh of like, I'm going to tell you something I collect that I wish I didn't.
And
but
I mean, just like the Super 7, I have a lot of the Thundercats. I have Cat Slayer coming. What the hell am I going to do with Cat Slayer?
How big's your living room?
Well, I mean, I have this little spot. I kind of put a shelf behind Grayskull. I don't know. I figure something out.
But have you seen the Cat Slayer in person?
No. Yeah, I saw Mike standing in front of it when he was at Comic-Con.
It's not going to fit there.
No. Well, how about on top all the way to the ceiling? I don't know. We'll see.
Dude,
I'll figure something out.
It's so fucking big.
Yeah. So anyway, I got those. I collect I'm 100% caught up on Masterverse. I'm completely caught up on Masterverse. I have every Masterverse that they've ever done.
Really?
Yes. I'm proud of that one. Origins, I'm missing the duplicate combo with Faker. I'm missing the one you just got rid of. I was going to ask you about the Secrets of Grayskull. I never got, even though that's the cheaper one out of all of them because it's only like $100 now.
Yeah.
And then I'm missing that very first He-Man Adam PowerCon 2-pack that I will never even try to get. So I'm almost there on Origins. I've got all the Turtles that are out. Turtles of Grayskull. And of course, I dabbled in classics and I dabbled in 2000X as well. So that's kind of
the duplicate was the one that that's the one that I was. I can't regret not like missing it. I tried getting it that day that it went up and it sold out so quickly.
I just made my own.
Well, see, that looks really good.
And these are glow in the dark. I 3D printed the gloves and they're glow in the dark.
I love that.
And then I cut open with a Dremel and then put like a metal piece in the middle and got some fat in there, the meat.
Dude, you do really good work.
So,
but like the duplicate, like I thought that was such a good looking set.
I agree.
And I tried getting it that day because that went up the same day that the Secrets of Grayskull.
Mm-hmm.
And there was I think there was 4 things that went up that day. The Horde pack. Yeah. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that because I knew it was already coming. When I was trying to be completist, the only figure that I couldn't get myself to pull the trigger on was the deluxe Hordak because I'm like, he's the exact fucking same figure.
Yeah, that was stupid.
I couldn't I cannot justify spending $20 on this when I have the other one and I don't see anything.
Well, he's buzzsaw it. He's got the buzz.
Yeah, but you don't see it. Like
no,
yeah,
you
like,
don't.
I'm not. But I was like, I just couldn't.
You can't tell if you had them next to each other unless you're like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And I walked by it numerous times. And even when I saw it get marked down, I'm like, I'm not gonna buy it. Like, I don't know why. Like that is where I stuck my foot and my heels in the ground. I'm like, I'm not buying this.
I'm done. Yeah. Well, hell, I even got a lot of the Netflix He-Man ones too.
Oh wow!
Granted, I got that Grayskull for $25 at Ross, which was awesome. That was $100 Grayskull, and it's got lights up, and it has a bunch of cool sounds to it and stuff when you open it up. So that one actually, have you seen that one yet, Punk?
Yeah, I've seen yours, but I've seen it before. Yeah, that's.
I mean, it's more for kids.
No, cool. That's exactly it. But again, I will. Good, though. Dude, wholeheartedly, I've told people before, when my hiss is downstairs, I turn it on before I leave for work.
That's
because
cool.
It's dark, and I have right now I have my display downstairs. I decided to do a Halloween display with my horror figures that I have.
That's cool.
Right?
That's cool.
I'm not a Halloween guy, but I'm like, you know what?
You got him. Might as well.
Yeah, let's just do this. So now his tank is up here, and you better believe I pressed the fucking button in front of you.
Dude, I'll run that track on Eternity all the time, man. That stuff's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, dude, if I had that, there's no way. How could you not? Like, it's just,
That's great.
I mean, you've seen the shorts where I went out and I played with the mauler. Like and believe to sit there and take a 35-year-old vehicle that the guy bought that off. That thing was that thing is in mint condition. Yeah. The only thing that's missing is 2 flaps on it. That's the only thing. And like when it went over the certain things, I was like, But I sold my old one, my childhood one, that was beat up more. And then the only other one that I have doesn't have guts in it. Yeah. I ripped the guts out so I could push it.
Well, yeah, because otherwise it locks up, right? You can't do it when it's.
No, you can push it, but you were gonna everyone said, "Oh, you probably."
It wasn't fun.
No. So yeah, once took the guts out, but I had an extra one as a kid, so I took it out and I pushed it around. Cool. The one that I sold was my childhood one, but it wasn't in nearly as good a shape as the one that I got, and I think I got like $130 for it on eBay.
Shit.
I paid $275 for the whole lot that I had bought right after my ex and I had split up. And all the stuff is probably worth about $1,500 now.
Yeah.
But the guy sold it to me because he knew I wasn't going to turn around and sell the stuff.
So and that's cool because they know. Yeah. The collector, you know what? And that's a cool thing as a collector is a lot of times that's what happens where if somebody's going to get rid of something, they're like, I want it to go somewhere that's going to be there. I don't want somebody that's going to end up putting it on eBay after they get it from
and everything that he had, it looked like it was just taken out of the box. And I go, why is this in perfect condition? He goes, I think I just got it right as I was getting out of toys, and I was never into G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And so it was all packed. What was crazy is that his mom and dad and him were smokers. There was no signs of smoke, and everything was packed wonderfully. And cool. The amount of stuff that I pulled out of there blew my mind. $275
once in a lifetime, huh?
Yeah. I don't come across
especially now that everybody sees everything on the internet, and you're never going to run into a yard sale where someone doesn't know what they have.
Yeah,
you know?
a complete whale, which is what $250, $300.
Yeah,
and I mean it looks mint.
That's awesome.
Like I said, that mauler is missing 2 flaps, so everything was almost complete, if not complete.
That's cool.
So where do you see yourself going now with toys?
You know what? I've drawn the line on the mythics. I got a couple of skeletons, but I can't see myself. See, a lot of times for me, when you look at this room, it's nostalgia, man. That's it. It's see you, Kayla. It's a nostalgia thing. I collect what I loved. I collect what takes me back. The stuff that they make now is awesome, but I might get a couple here and there of different things, but then again, you see Masters of the Universe is branching out to Thundercats now. Yeah. And you see, what's it called? Mask is coming back with, what's the toy brand?
Loyal Subjects.
Yeah. Loyal Subjects is coming back. So that I will go into. I love Mask. I've always loved Mask. That was like one of my favorites growing up.
We talked about that.
And then of course with the Thundercats, we'll see if I can't figure out a way to get Cat's Lair to work. I might end up selling off my Thundercats that I've been collecting in order to put with that. I might end up putting it in that corner where I put that TV with my Nintendo.
You can live in it.
Yeah,
dude, the thing is fucking huge. All right, I mean, and it looks awesome. But here's the biggest issue with the Cat's Lair is I don't think it's something you want against the wall. It's something I believe you want to see 360
all the way around. Yeah.
You want to see the inside. You want to see the outside, which makes it awesome, but also makes it awful all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
this is me saying something nice about Super 7. So record this, screenshot it, do whatever you need to do. Understand, I said something really nice about Super 7.
Well, it's just like the old Snake Mountain and the old Grayskull. Those are phenomenal, the Super 7s. And it's one of those where you see these guys that have those basements that can put stuff directly in the middle of the room, and it's something that you can do. My Eternia, I have it on those wheels, so if I ever wanted to, I can turn it around and I can pull it out or set at a different angle. I love the way it looks there in the front, but yeah, I think if I figure it out, I'll keep doing it. But Rolando,
and that's like the aircraft carrier. Mine is, the room is small, so I can't technically walk around it because it's kind of pushed up against the. It's pushed up against the wall where they would land, right? Because you need to be able to see around it. So I want to be able to walk around. No one else goes in that room. I like to go in that room and look at stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then realize I got to clean the cobwebs off here because holy shit. But like, I want to be able to see around it. People will push that thing right up against the wall because it takes up so much space. I understand it, but it's like now you can't see inside the superstructure.
You have to appreciate it. You have to get it to where you can appreciate it the most. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a true collector will do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, everybody, you can't say you're not a true collector, but I'm just saying somebody that has that next level of appreciation, I guess we'll say.
Yeah. And some people, you don't have the room. It's like, I have to push it against it. All right. Makes sense. Yeah. But like, if you can do it, it's like you sacrifice some other things so you can walk around, because not everyone has that thing.
It's almost like that Seinfeld episode when they put the pool table in the room and they couldn't play because they're against the wall.
I tried watching Seinfeld. And I absolutely hated it. I don't think Jerry Seinfeld.
Stuff, man. But, well, the show is good. The show is good.
Yeah. Well, I tried watching it and I couldn't laugh one bit.
Joe likes Mythic Legions. I didn't know.
I know, this is a shocker.
Talking about and Faker Battle Cat. So you know what? Faker Battle Cat is a guy. The name says it all, right? Faker Battle Cat, huge. But man, he has jumped off the Motu bandwagon and gone straight 4 Horsemen, just like Oz. Man, you got ran right over there and is like. But 4 Horsemen's great though. It is.
But I get that. I get guys that. They love G.I. Joe, and then they found Valaverse, and they're like, they're not like us, where we're here for like, there's a lot of nostalgic. They're like, I had this as a kid. I want something new. I want something that's going to be, that I've never had before. And so they see this Valaverse, and it's like, these are all new characters. I can create my own story.
Yeah.
And that is awesome. That is awesome if you can do it, because I've talked about it with other people on here. For me, when it came to playing Star Wars, I could only play what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
It felt like I could. Where G.I. Joe, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, you can create your own episode. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was always new things happening. And of course, when you look back at it, it's like, well, in Star Wars, they did do more than just what you saw. But that's what we saw.
But with Joe's, I had so many people doing like stabbing each other in the back, man. There was so much.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The same way. Like,
love it.
You had a base of the cartoon, but you could do your own episode. Star Wars, I'm sorry. You just couldn't. This is what happened. This is what happens in point A. This is point B. Then we move on to like, that's how it was. Oh, here's Dagobah. This is how you have to play with Dagobah. Again, why was there a thing in Dagobah where Luke could go underneath, like get sucked in? I don't remember quicksand. Why did he have quicksand
there?
Yeah. Why is it in the movie?
Yeah.
So,
but the same thing with Masters. You could do anything you want. A lot of times, but the villains were so bad and so cool looking to where you knew the bad guys were bad and the good guys were good. When you get into G.I. Joe, a lot of guys could turn, man. I had a lot of guys flipping sides and, going one way or the other. Cause sometimes one guy could be on the other side or, he could do it one way or the other.
Oh yeah. But even He-Man, when you look at some of them, like some of the guys, like you kind of look at it and you're like, how is he a good guy?
Yeah. Some of the good guys could be. Yeah. I agree on that one. Yeah.
But if they're humanoid, other than Evil Lynn, you're kind of like, yeah, that's one of the good guys.
Yeah. A lot of times they go based on color, you know which color they're doing for good guys and bad guys. But
racist.
Oh man. I'm talking like purple and silver. Like purple.
Blue. Jitsu.
Well, they switched Jitsu in Masterverse. They made him a good guy. What the hell?
Oh, did they?
Yeah, on his box art, they have him as a good guy. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Wow.
Whatever.
Is there anything that you're looking to do on your YouTube channel, Instagram?
Honestly, I have really been wanting, and my thought process is to grow my YouTube. My thought process is to convert over to YouTube. I've been doing Instagram a lot, and I of course, with the sports one, I was doing really well with the sports one on the Instagram. But I enjoy making the shows, and I enjoy making the shorts, and I enjoy doing reviews and stuff. I want to get back into making more prints and painting on videos. But I think that's kind of where I'm headed. I mean, and it's just a matter of being able to just, like you're talking about with the back pain, is get through it and get it going and try to stay more consistent. My biggest enemy is consistency right now. And I know that's a big enemy for YouTube. So,
it is. It is. But if you're not doing lives, here's a tip: is if you're gonna be doing your customs, and you can have 5, 6, 7, 20 different episodes, 20 different videos all ready to go, and then drop them in different times.
Yeah. When I'm feeling good, make them all while I feel good and drop them later. Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, you can just load them up on YouTube and they're set to private. And then when you're ready and you're like, all right, I have 20 videos that up there.
Mm-hmm.
This gives me enough time to when I start feeling better, I can do stuff, and these videos are still going, especially if they're not reviews.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier, for me with reviews, I have a short shelf life.
Yeah.
2 to 4 weeks, and then pretty much they die. If you're doing something like customs, doesn't matter. They're evergreen because people want to see how you made it, because you could be customizing, a Masterverse, but you're showing people how you do the paint and different things. And it might be someone that's like, hey, I've been wondering how to paint this fucking banana that I have, but I don't know how to do this, paint this 3D banana. I don't know why I said fucking banana.
It's an example. It's good.
Yeah. I didn't want to go with another toy line, but again, if someone's painting something that's 3D printed and they just see how you did it, or if they're doing G.I. Joe and they're like, oh, how do you do the eyes? Okay. Oh, how do you remove it? I did the whole thing on how to remove the paint. That's good for anything.
Yeah.
If you can find this Winsor Newton. Hey, Winsor Newton, bring this stuff back for people because they don't want the new formula. It sucks.
Ooh.
Yeah. The new
and even little things like Pledge. Get you a nice bottle of Pledge that's made for high traffic floors, that's for high gloss, and it's beautiful if you want to do something like just in the eyeball to make them look wet. Or if you need like this little piece inside this, you could see this has got a high gloss to it because of that. And it's Pledge. That's all it is. It's not like a high gloss anything. It's not made for art, but think about it. It's for high traffic floors. I mean, it's going to be a good protectant for it. But little things like that. But I think even putting some videos on how the printer is going, and just some people interested in that. But I think the reviews almost bother me for my stuff because, there's so many people that do them. And it is a matter of them finding you and liking you, not your toy. I know, I get that part of it. And I'm a goofball, man. If you guys go see any of my videos, I'm a goofball. And I try to use humor, and I try to, screw around with stuff like that. And I make mistakes and I laugh at myself, and I'm good with that. But I think the customs are where I want to kind of go toward and do more painting and do more 3D printing and stuff on my YouTube channel.
What you said is very accurate. People know who I am when it comes to G.I. Joe reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't just tune in to see the review of the figure. A lot of times they just tune in to hear me.
And they like your style, and they like your voice. They like the way you speak.
But you see all these new people coming into G.I. Joe Classified, and it's hard for them to break through.
Yeah.
They get a figure before me, and it might be a day before me, and then I drop my video, and it goes right by theirs. And that's just because I'm in the algorithm. People know who I am. But again, even if you know who I am, I have a 2 to 4 week shelf when it comes to these videos. Yeah. When you do a custom like that, that's evergreen. That's going to be someone in 2 years, someone can go back to if it's something that addresses a need when someone new comes into the hobby and they're trying to figure out how to do painting, like you talked about the pledge, that's not going away. Yeah. That's something that's been known for years, but how many people know it?
Yeah.
Way more people don't know it than do know it. So I think like you looking at stuff like that, because that's what you do too. And again, you have a talent to do something that other people don't do. I've told Tony, you need to teach people how to Dremel out the heads for the different peg sizes.
Yeah.
It's not that people can't do it. People are worried to do it on their own.
Yeah.
But if they watch a video of how you do it and what they're looking for, people are going to be more apt to actually try it.
Well, even early on, there was one when it was printing some of those heads that had like the hollowed out neck hole. They didn't have any kind of peg spot.
Yeah.
And a long time ago, I remember seeing a video of a guy just using hot glue with some saran wrap, put the saran wrap over the peg, put the hot glue inside the head, put it on there, let it cool down, take it off, cut all the saran wrap off, and now you have that peg hole from hot glue, like a glue gun. And it worked, and it pops, and it works. And I remember that so long ago that I did that with some of the ones that I did, and little things like that you kind of hold on to, and it gives value to your video.
No, yeah. Like I've never heard that, and that is so. It's little things like that, like
because then you just get an X-Acto. You cut the saran wrap off because you don't want it to stick to the peg, just inside the head.
Yeah,
and then you take that saran wrap, and then of course you have a nice fitting.
And that's something anyone can do. They just don't know how to do it.
Yep.
Or where to even start. So, anyway.
Yep.
I want to say thank you for joining me, because I think it's time to wrap it up. It's been almost 3.5 hours.
It was fun, man. It was a good time.
And you were like, I'm not sure if I'm that interesting. And we didn't even talk about some of the other things that you had discussed.
Could have, yeah.
And that's fine. I think we went down enough of an emotional ride this time.
Emotions, man.
But thank you. I appreciate it. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Well, you can find me at Kenzo's _creations. There's 2 underscores on Instagram because somebody already took the first one. And then on my YouTube channel, which is on here, you can see it's Kenzo's _creations. I will be doing my best to add more to it, and I do want to get more into. And if you have any questions or anybody wants anything specific that they have questions on, I do a lot of this stuff all the time. I'd be happy to answer anything. So hit me up, get in my inbox, whatever, let me know. And otherwise, yeah, I appreciate you letting me on, man. It was a good time. It was fun.
Oh no, it was great having you. And again, I love having people on that have an interesting story, and people that I like. There's that too. I like talking to people, and people that can talk. I've said before, I haven't had a dud yet. It's eventually going to happen. It worries me no more now because they're going longer and longer.
I'm not the dud. I'm not the dud.
No, you are not the dud.
Yes. I did it. No, okay.
And his links to Instagram and YouTube are in the description. So if you are interested, just go down there, click over there, and make sure you give him a subscribe, because you said you were at like 700 and some right now?
760. Yeah, I'm shooting for that. I'm thousands in range now. So yeah, thousands in range.
And everyone knows that is that vaunted number. And I'm not going to lie, that last 100 is the worst. It is the worst. So anyway, you guys know where you can find me this Monday, probably on Oz's. Kenzo also shows up on Oz's Clubhouse.
Yes, sir.
We always have a good time because toys are fun.
Toys are fun.
But it is time to call it a night, because some of us have to work in the morning, and Kenzo also has to get somewhere
tonight. Yeah, an hour.
I hope it's close. So anyway, thank you very much, and we will all see you this Monday. Take care.
See you guys.